It's Friday. You know what that means.
Yeah.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 349 of everyone's favorite wrestling podcast, the F and Marks.
I'm Jay. He is.
I am the brainless one. And, we apologize for missing last week. We did have Elimination Chamber on Saturday at the butt crack of dawn. I know there was quite
up. Like last week, I had an event which prevented me from being able to do the podcast. Stayed out late and told myself, I am not setting my alarm. If I get up, I get up. I woke up and I witnessed it. I ended up witnessing you know what? It looks like I wouldn't mind going to Perth, Australia. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just going to say this. I did the exact same thing. I went and I dashed doors Friday night. I came home. I watched SmackDown, went to bed. I said, I'm not going to set an alarm. I'm not going to be gallivanting around Newport News trying to find a 40. If I wake up in time to watch the pay-per-view, I will be up and watching the pay-per-view. And sure as shit, I woke up at 5:07, looked at my phone and said, fuck this shit, rolled back over and fell back to sleep.
Yeah.
I said, I don't pay $5 or $6 a month for Peacock to have to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning to watch a pay-per-view. I'll just start from where I wake up and then fill it in over the weekend. And that's exactly what I did. And I'm going to say this. I'm glad I did, because if I had to go through that period of time between the tag team match, which was the second match of the night, and that long gap, I don't care if there was an adrenaline in my soul and a visionary jabber-jawing with Grayson Waller. I don't care. There was an hour between the tag team match and the men's elimination chamber. You had 4 matches on the card, and Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins being on the Grayson Waller effect was completely unnecessary. But all in all, I thought that the elimination chamber was decent.
It was a good show that has set forward in motion many of the things that we will see at Wrestlemania. I was not quite expecting to see this, but I'm okay with it. AJ Styles and LA Knight. Yeah. Give it to me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'll take it. With what Logan Paul did at Elimination Chamber, he has now set himself up for 2 matches. Or maybe a triple threat match. I don't think it's going to be a triple threat match. I think it'll be him and Randy Orton at WrestleMania. But we also might get him and Captain Cupcake again. The Hostess Hero rides again.
I have so many issues with the route they have chosen to go post-elimination chamber. I have so many issues. And it's all stemming from the men's elimination chamber. I'm sorry. The tag team match was the best match of the night, and you can't tell me otherwise. Pete Dunne is him. He had his match. Him and Tyler Bate. I've done a complete 180 on Tyler Bate. You go back 7 years ago and listen to the episodes of the early years of I think I was Bobby the Brainless at that point.
Right.
And the stuff that was flowing out of my mouth, I couldn't stand the dude. I hated the fact that he was
try-hard.
He's a try-hard. Look at this guy. He doesn't look like a wrestler. Looks like a dude that's on the playground that's about to go down the slide. That's what he looked like. And he won the freaking NXT UK tournament. I was like, wow. And then now look at him. I'm like, this dude's actually pretty cool. I'm like, he's not a bad dude. I love that vignette they did that kind of woke up and had Butch ditch the Butch, and now we have Pete Dunne again.
Yeah.
And I enjoy them as a tag team. They're a great tag team.
They are.
Give me whatever they're called. I forget the name of what they're called. They're not Gallus and shit. But
they're not Gallus. I forget what they're called.
they are fun and entertaining. That match with them and the Spooky Pals on Saturday was fantastic. I enjoyed that. The women's elimination chamber match was pretty good. I'm not going to say it was one of the greatest matches I've ever seen, but it did its job. Becky Lynch went over. Tiffany Stratton is the next big thing. And honestly, the first half of the show, it's kind of like how WrestleMania 35 was, where the first half of the show was great, and then Elias and John Cena had their little, interaction, and then the WrestleMania 35 went in the toilet after that. That's exactly what it felt like after the Grayson Waller effect, because and nothing against Rhea Ripley, because bless that woman, she could have had a better match with a sack of potatoes, and that's exactly what she wrestled, was a sack of potatoes. Yeah. I don't blame Rhea Ripley. I enjoyed that moment. I know she came out and apologized for crying at the end of the show. No, don't apologize. I don't want to hear that. This is the first big show that WWE has done in your country, like an actual premium live event. That's something that they made up. That was what they did with the Saudi shows. They gave you guys a premium live event, your first one. You earned and deserved that main event spot. And you kicked her ass. You deserve that reaction. You deserve to have that in your home country. You deserve that to have that moment in front of your family. If you want to cry, damn it, Rhea Ripley, you can cry. And I'm okay with it. Because I would be crying too if I had to carry a 2,500-pound sack of potatoes for an entire wrestling match for longer than 8 seconds.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, Jay. I am very, very, very critical of the men's elimination chamber. Because my biggest thing, since we've been doing this podcast, since before I was doing this podcast, my biggest issue with WWE was it was too predictable. And that men's elimination chamber, and I'm not saying it's because of Drew, it's getting to a point where they're doing the same shtick over and over again, where somebody gets eliminated from the chamber, and then they take their sweet time getting that person out. And then you have somebody go in and attack somebody they're not even in the match, and they're attacking somebody. AJ Styles wasn't even in the match, and he attacked LA Knight. I have no problem with the direction that they're going in at all. And before I continue, Cousin Jay, just remember what I told you before the podcast. I said this is going to be a tism fest, and this is going to be the entire time. I'm just going to be tisming, because this is how irritating this is. When you do it once, it's fine. If you do it every so often, that's fine. But my biggest issue is, why are you guys beating the dead horse of leaving the chamber door open way too freaking long? I got to turn the heater off because it's a little warm in here, and I'm about to go off too. So, why is it that this is your new go-to? It's losing its luster and its appeal. It's already bad enough that you guys have given it its own freaking, pay-per-view, and it's fine because it's an elimination chamber and it should have its own thing, and every match should be an elimination chamber, but that's neither here nor there. But my big thing is now you're repeating yourself way too many times. When it took Bobby Lashley forever to get out of the chamber, I said, somebody's coming in there. I don't know who, but somebody's coming in there. Who they're going after, I don't know, but somebody's getting into the chamber. And sure as shit, AJ Styles came in there and blasted LA Knight with the chair, hit him with the Styles Clash on top of the chair, leading to, I believe it was Drew McIntyre getting the pinfall and eliminating LA Knight.
Yeah. And I do want to get into Bobby Lashley at some moment, but
that's fine.
Continue on.
Okay, fine. You guys want to beat that dead horse? Fine. You took the predictability and just whatever. Then you had the eliminations of Kevin Owens. Now he's gone. So now you're down to Logan Paul, Randy Orton, and Drew McIntyre. And Logan Paul's got the advantage over the two. And the Maverick goes and grabs the brass knuckles out of his pocket. And he puts them on. Yes, I know that this is a no disqualification match because you can't get disqualified inside of an elimination chamber. Hence, we saw it when AJ Styles inserted himself into the match that he wasn't in to eliminate LA Knight. Yeah. So, of course, he busts out the brass knuckles because now this is Logan Paul's thing, because Logan Paul is a badass and Logan Paul knocked people out with just one punch. You're not the fucking Big Show, Logan Paul.
That's why he has brass knuckles.
And he also hasn't turned face and heel a shit ton of times either.
Yeah.
And you milked it. And I get it. And it bothers me so much that Logan Paul is so goddamn good. It bothers me. But he stood there and he's got those brass knuckles on and he's talking. I'm like, it's coming. Not that I was upset to see an RKO, because believe me, there's only like 2 or 3 people on this planet who deserved an RKO more than Logan Paul did on Saturday. RKO, pins him, 1, 2, 3. Logan Paul's out of the match. You tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, we still saw Logan Paul laying out on the ring after he got eliminated as Randy Orton is about to take out Drew McIntyre. And they went back and forth, and Orton hits an RKO on Drew McIntyre, and then boom! Logan Paul punches Randy Orton in the face. I was so soured after that, especially knowing that the thing that was going to be showing up on my screen after that terribleness was Nia Jax. Just added more to my misery. But I hated every second of Logan Paul punching Randy Orton in the face with the brass knuckles. I'm setting a record tonight, Jay. I don't know what the longest I've ever gone on a TISM rant, but I am definitely going for the record tonight. It might be the whole time we're on this podcast. Even when I'm doing my good, I'm going to be TISMing out. But I hated the fact it was supposed to be Randy Orton and Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble. And you decided to make it a fatal 4-way match because you said it was too soon for Randy Orton to eat a pinfall. Now, I get it. He was in an elimination chamber. If he wasn't going to win it, he was going to have to eat a pinfall, and him lasting to be the last elimination. Yeah, I get it. Still make him look strong, and you still kind of had him look strong the way he got eliminated. But let's be real. Randy Orton came back in November after a very long and frustrating sabbatical because of his back. He has now been back for 3 months. And he went from, I'm going after the bloodline because they're the ones that put me in this situation, to fighting Logan Paul at WrestleMania. That was issue number 1. Number 2, it was too predictable. So I knew somebody was coming in, and sure as shit, AJ Styles, I would have put money on it. If I could have, I would have put money on it. Somebody was going to come in right there. Sure as shit. And again, I am not opposed to LA Knight versus AJ Styles, because if you want to look back at it, I don't think anybody has a better catalog of opponents at WrestleMania than AJ Styles has since he debuted in 2016. He's wrestled a who's who's of who's who's in wrestling.
I feel exceptionally bad for AJ Styles. He had to get on a plane for a day and a half to do a run-in. I mean, it's a bit better than when they had Karrion Kross come back and try to jumpstart his feud with Drew McIntyre by throwing water at him. You flew me over to the United Kingdom to throw water at a man. Not to go over the barricade and punch the man, to throw water at him. Thanks. I wanted to go see Piccadilly Circus, and I wanted to go to the first Clash at the Castle so that I could be here for the 13th Clash. And
we're 12 away.
The greatest thing ever happened. All that being said, one name and one thing you mentioned was Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley did have some really good moments, but he was the first elimination. And it made me think to myself, this poor man was set to have a very high-profile WrestleMania match last year. And under a very unfortunate set of circumstances, ended up not having the match, and he has never regained his footing. He beat Brock Lesnar 2 out of 3 times. And, they tried starting this, faction with the Street Profits. And all they do is lose. Lashley was the first one eliminated. Street Profits lose matches. Should I be excited to see them against, the faction with, Authors of Pain and Karrion Kross? They have done nothing to make me think that that's exciting or important at this moment.
Well, to be fair, Bobby Lashley did get attacked on Friday Night SmackDown, and they could have sold that with the injury, because if him getting eliminated first, I didn't even think he was going to be there, if I'm being honest, after watching SmackDown. I was like, that's going to be the way for them to get him out of this match and insert whoever they want to insert into this match last second. But he was in the match, and I was like, oh, okay. I'm not opposed to this. I love watching Bobby Lashley wrestle. I was just as shocked, even though storyline wise, I was still shocked he was the first one eliminated. I figured it was going to be Kevin Owens.
Yeah.
But, honestly, like I said, the match as a whole, it wasn't that bad. I just hated the predictability about it.
Now, when you're saying predictability, is it because of the run-ins, or are you saying because of the winners?
Oh, it's the run-ins.
Okay.
I had...
Because to me, at this point in WrestleMania season, when you see the people that are in these matches, it's like, what is a WrestleMania main event caliber player? And it's pretty easy to see how they've been booked recently and be like, yeah, it's this person. Outside of Becky and Bianca, I felt nobody else had a chance to win the women's elimination chamber match. And I just felt that they weren't going to go with Bianca this year. That was my main reason for going with Becky.
Honestly,
it felt to me Drew was almost a shoo-in. Not that I would have been against Orton winning, but Drew McIntyre, has been killing it since he's become a heel. He had his WrestleMania moment stolen from him by COVID 4 years ago. There are things going back and forth on the internet whether or not Drew McIntyre has actually signed a new contract. You've seen some things out there saying he has signed a new contract. You've seen other things saying, no, he hasn't. I saw one thing saying he hasn't signed a new contract. They're very far apart on terms. And quite honestly, it sounds like nobody knows what the hell's going on. Here is what I will say about this. I bet they are pretty damn close to something. Otherwise, they would not keep on booking him as he is and would not keep promoting him in events in the future. Even if you're going, well, he's still going to be here with the company. We need to promote him. All that, if he was going off to AEW, they would not make him look like, a top tier star right now. I remember the end of John Moxley's run.
I was just about to mention
him look like he looked like a mid card dude, and they brought him back for that little Shield one off when beginning a WWE network or earlier bits of the WWE network where they would occasionally show a house show. I'm pretty sure Drew is about to re-sign with the company. He's been doing great work, and why would he sit there and talk about a guy named CM Punk who's going to be out for another 5 to 7 months at least, setting up a feud that would go beyond what his current injury time added on is? Clearly, it's going to happen. He's going to sign.
Yeah.
Whether or not he actually has signed on the dotted line, clearly we there's nothing foolproof out there from anybody. We haven't heard anything from Triple H. We haven't heard anything from Drew. They may even wait until like something like WrestleMania press conference because, I mean, spoiler alert, Drew McIntyre is winning the heavyweight championship.
No, he's not.
He is.
I got a crazy tinfoil hat theory on that. I was going to save it for the prediction show, but I could.
I mean, and we always have the spooky pal who could come and mess with all.
That's my prediction because Seth and Drew are not going to be the main event of WrestleMania Night 2. It's going to be Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns. I don't know what they're going to do for the main event of Night 1. They could do Becky Lynch and Rhea Ripley.
Well, I mean, it could be the alleged tag team match with.
Could be Seth and Cody versus Roman Reigns and The Rock.
Right.
It could be, all we know, it could be Gunther defending the Intercontinental Championship one-on-one against Sami Zayn or Chad Gable or R-Truth or just the leader of one of the spooky, Dirty Dom or, you know what? Gunther, you're looking for an opponent for the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania. I will announce myself as a possible contender for your Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania. You know what? If Cousin Jay can announce himself for the Royal Rumble every year, then by golly, I can put myself as a number one contender for the Intercontinental Championship. That is my favorite title in all of wrestling, the WWE Intercontinental Championship. I would love to go and wrestle Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship. Do you think he would chop me?
Yes. He absolutely would chop you. By the way, I've never been eliminated from the Royal Rumble.
Yes, but you still haven't been alive as long as Curtis Axel has.
Also a truth.
But do you think it would hurt?
Tim says he would like to see Gunther chop you.
I think a lot of people would love to see Gunther chop me. Hi. I know. I'm sorry. I have my special. There she is.
Yeah.
She's very upset that she was not put into the Hall of Fame in 2023, so she's now making her second appearance in 2024.
Well, I mean, she certainly has a high bar to reach for as far as four-legged canines.
Yes.
In the Hall of Fame.
No, there's nobody touches Dixie. Nobody.
I mean, unless you happen to have a cat there that, just randomly gets jumped on by Luda.
Do you want me to get a squirrel and you jump on that and see if that counts? I don't know if that's going to work.
I would count that. The fact that a dog could be spry enough to hit a squirrel, those are fast little moving MFers.
Oh, Jay, it would be like those situations where you got the powerhouse jumping off the top rope and you got the two, underlings holding down the opponent that he's about to squash. That's what it's going to be, me with the squirrel and Ludo off the couch. I know. I'm
Chris
sorry.
Brown, asking in the chat, what in the hell is going on with this year's class for the WWE Hall of Fame? I don't know. There haven't been a lot of rumors out there. I mean, the biggest one out there possibly is Paul Heyman. I think right now with the fact that Doom 2 is coming out and Batista has a big part in it, he probably wouldn't mind, one, promoting the movie a little bit extra and, getting his just due of getting in the Hall of Fame when 3 years ago, 4 years ago, he was supposed to go in and they delayed it because, nobody was going to be able to attend the ceremony. So I think those are two people that would be a really good idea to put in. And I think, there are certainly several other worthy people we've brought up many times that are not in the Hall of Fame that should be in the Hall of Fame. But yeah, there really hasn't been a lot of talk about that.
No. And I'm kind of surprised because we're literally a month before WrestleMania. If they're maybe they've decided that they've oversaturated the Hall of Fame class, or maybe they're going to do the thing they should have done for, like they did with Andre, and they give Bray Wyatt his own class. And maybe they do the thing for Bray Wyatt, because I know that probably plays a big role in it. Like if his family is ready for that moment to have him go into the Hall of Fame. Like you said, Paul Heyman has been a big. He's probably the one name I've seen the most, probably more so than any other name combined. And yeah, Batista would make a lot. That would be funny though. Could you imagine Dave Batista being at WrestleMania and, oh, look, there's The Rock and then there's Dave Batista and like, well, I mean, fuck, man, we already got Dave Batista and The Rock. We might as well bring John Cena into the equation. And then the best part would be when they have that moment at WrestleMania when The Rock and Batista and John Cena are all standing in the ring and they're all talking about their great Hollywood careers. And then the sound of a gunshot and Western music comes on, and WWE's John Wayne, Hulk Hogan, makes his way to the ring. Let me tell you something, brothers.
Yeah, like when I saw the interview with Hulk Hogan, like he was on TBN, Trinity Broadcast Network. It's a Christian network, and he's trying to, tell, a little bit of his biography, but in general, his story about, becoming a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
And when he talked about it in like the 80s or early 90s, a movie executive pointing to a picture of John Wayne in his office and says, I want you to become the next John Wayne. I think anybody who had seen Hulk Hogan act like, as much as I was not in the room, and as much as I know John Wayne, he's not Denzel Washington or anything. He's not Meryl Streep, but like John Wayne, at least like had presence was pretty decent. I mean, Hulk Hogan had No Holds Barred, Mr. Nanny, Suburban Commando,
Three Ninjas.
3.
Oh, yeah, that was it. Surf Ninjas 3 or Little Ninjas or whatever the fuck it was called. And his Academy Award nominated performance in Rocky 3.
Rocky 3.
Lights out, meatball. Okay.
But like, as much as I'd like to give the Hulkster a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, like, hey, I wasn't there, you weren't there. We don't know. Somebody may have well said this. Maybe.
Oh, yeah. Somebody said it was Terry
But with his
Bollea.
track record for telling tales that would make Pinocchio have a nose that is bigger than the Mackinac Bridge.
I keep seeing the thing on the bottom line.
I cannot get out of my head, though. I want to see Hulk Hogan with a cowboy hat on and some spurs and slowly walking into the center of town at high noon. He's about to take on
the
Thanos.
Waco Kid. This town ain't big enough for the two of us, brother. Instead of calling everybody,
always says it in such a kind of blasé. Yep, no big deal. They said I was going to be the next John Wayne, and when I realized the time commitment and all that stuff, brother, I just, you know what? I just love professional wrestling too much.
I swear, Jay, I thought I put that in my top 10 predictions of the new lies that Hulk Hogan was going to come up with. I swear to you, I thought I did that. Because I'm telling you right now, at the end of this year, because we talked about this recently, at the end of this year, There's going to be at least one thing on my list of Hogan lies in the future that's going to come true because it's too stupid not to.
You know what? With the power of AI, we can make this happen.
Jay, for the
we can
life
turn Hulk Hogan into the new John Wayne. Let
Jay,
me tell you something, Pilgrim.
Yeah, instead of pilgrimage, brother. Let me tell you something, brother. Jay, let me tell you something right now. If I ever figure out how to do that AI picture shit, it's a wrap. It is absolutely a wrap. Because that thing is going to kick me off and say, what the hell is your obsession with Bobby Fish?
I was watching Luke Cage this week. You know, it was a Netflix series based off the Marvel character. There's a character in the show named Bobby Fish. Clearly named after the man who defeated President Lincoln in a wrestling match all those years ago.
It's on our Facebook page. I found the proof of their actual match. I cannot believe I found it. It was incredible. This is why I love the internet. I love and hate the internet. And I'm going to get into in a bit why I hate the internet. And I'm going to mention it again at the end of the podcast why I hate the internet. But
yeah,
hold on. I actually found that the top 10 lies Hulk Hogan will come up with next. Do I see John Wayne anywhere on here that he claimed he left Linda McMahon after catching her in a threesome with Jerry Saggs and Marty Jannetty? That is so funny now.
Oh.
This is back from, geez Louise, over about 200, over 200 days ago I did this list. He will claim that the story behind Goodwill Hunting was about him. He will claim that L. Ron Hubbard appeared in his dream and told him to recruit Nikolai Volkov and Charlie Sheen to Scientology or else his whole career would be wiped out. He came up with the idea of cryptocurrency, but was laughed at by Elon Musk. Claimed that he body slammed Haystacks Calhoun in Madison Square Garden to save Bruno Sammartino and Jimmy Hart. Calhoun was already out of WWE by the time Hulk Hogan got there. He will also have claimed he was supposed to get lead role in They Live, but missed the call during 400 wrestling days traveling in a year.
I mean, that's pretty close.
Claims he was the reason the Sheik got the title from Backlund due to, well, he earned it. Claims he is the reason for Instacart because he was on the toilet and needed toilet paper, brother. He will also claim he was supposed to be an inaugural F and Mark's Hall of Fame class, but declined due to the Gawker case.
Oh,
both members of the F and Mark's, Cousin Jay and the Brainless one, have denied vehemently that Hulk Hogan has never been considered for the F and Mark's Hall of Fame, which is incredible. And this is the most egregious one he's going to come up with by the end of the year. Hulk Hogan will claim that Curtis Axel is not still alive in the 2015 Royal Rumble.
We all know that's false.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that I didn't put John, because that makes so much sense. Because at the end of the day, when I think of professional wrestlers and I compare them to John Wayne, I absolutely think of the balding blonde guy with the handlebar mustache who calls everyone brother, who has less moves than John Cena and a much bigger penis than Terry Bollea. That's exactly what I think of when I think of John Wayne. I don't think of JBL. No, I don't think about JBL. I don't think about either of the smoking gun. Actually, really, I don't. And nobody ever thinks of Bart Gunn. Let's be serious. It's not like I would think of Stan Hansen could be the next John Wayne or anything. No, because why would Stan Hansen, an actual cowboy, be considered the next John Wayne? No, it's got to be Hulk Hogan. And Stan Hansen was in. What was he in? No Holds Barred?
He was in No Holds Barred.
Stan Hansen actually performed better in No Holds Barred than Hulk Hogan did.
You're not wrong.
So, as egregious as this is, if it was Stan Hansen that came out and said Hollywood was looking at him to be the next John Wayne, I believe it. He might look like John Wayne's Saddle, but man, I would believe him as more of a cowboy than Hulk Hogan, brother. By the way, and I'm sorry because I missed the perfect segue, and I'm going to go back to it now. You had mentioned records and pay-per-views. I'm actually glad you mentioned that because last week I did post the predictions for Elimination Chamber. And I got to say, Jay, this seems like this is a normal occurrence. I know it was only 4 matches, but you went 4 for 4. Nicole went 4 for 4. You and her right now, as it goes, you two were both a CM Punk winning the Rumble away from being absolutely perfect. 8 for 8 in premium live events. You two are tied at 7-1 at top. You guys are basically the Orioles and the Yankees. You could be the Orioles, obviously.
Yes.
I would never, ever compare you to the Yankees.
Thank you.
There's too much respect there. And then in third place is the Cleveland Guardian Indians. El Jefe, who went 2 for 2, is now at 6-2. And down in last place.
Living up to the gimmick.
I mean, seriously. If you had to take a guess, Cousin Jay, if you and Nicole have a 1-win lead over El Jefe, and I'm taking up the bottom of the barrel, am I the Red Sox in the American League East? Am I the Hartford Whalers when they were in the Metro Division?
Wait. They were not in the Metro Division.
They
were in the Adams Division.
Adams Division, that's what it was. I'm sorry. I apologize.
The Metro was like the Islanders, Rangers, and all that jazz.
It's so hard to keep track of all the divisions and all the different leagues. So
yeah, I mean, in the Adams Division, to be fair, has been long gone. Right. The Norris Division has been long gone.
Or am I so bad? I am the New York Jets. Period.
As of this point in the season, you are the Jets.
If you had to guess, out of 8 wins, how many do I have?
3.
I am 3-5. I got blown out by the Dallas Cowboys on opening night, 40-0. I was
maybe Kingsley should help you.
Jay, it's not even that bad, except for the fact that we were going through this Nicole was laughing the entire time. Because I'm going there and I'm like, I don't know what's worse, the fact that you guys are destroying me already after 2 pay-per-views, or the fact that I was the only person talking about wrestling on the podcast during the Royal Rumble that didn't say Bayley's name in regards to winning. I went 1 for 3 in a 4-match premium live event. The only match I got right was Rhea Ripley. Because I was the only one that took Pete Dunne and New Butch. I was the only person to take Randy Orton. And for whatever reason, what was the other one I got wrong? It was the women's one. Who did I pick for that? Oh, I picked Raquel Rodriguez.
Poor Raquel Rodriguez. You know, she has a medical like thing that she deals with, and it flared up while in Australia, which is why she had no makeup on and her face was kind of puffed up. Good on her for, toughing it out, getting in the ring, and as much as we make fun of her for, being back pose, and as Tim said, fuck back pose.
Rack back.
She's one tough SOB.
I felt bad because I did see the video of the reaction that her body was having, like all the red marks and rashes and shit that broke out all over her body. So I said that for the foreseeable future, she is not going to be on the receiving end of any critical comments coming from me, just because I feel really bad because that just sucks and I'm sorry. So that one rack back comment I made was going to be the last one I make until at least WrestleMania. I'll give you till then, Rat
right.
Back.
Oh. In the comments, very important thing that I have to say to you. Omega. Do you know who's here, Brainless One?
I'm going to guess it is someone who won me over the second their screen name on Twitter when we were on Periscope popped up, and I popped. That was, to this day, that's still my favorite Twitter handle. Don't eat brown snow. Because it is the most accurate statement that was ever said. Do not, and I repeat, do not eat brown snow.
Don't eat brown snow.
But if I were to give him some new ammunition instead of the X-Pacs and the Omegas, if you really want to get me over, just mention Nicholas and Matthew Jackson. There's nothing in this. I'm going to tell you right now, there's really nothing in this world I hate more than those two. I swear to you, no. And I can't wait until we get to that part, too. I really cannot wait until we get to that part. Because I told you, Jay, this is going to be a new record. I am going to go the fuck off the entire episode because that's the kind of mood I'm in. And I had to endure that. And I'm glad I didn't watch it live because I couldn't fathom watching that live. Because I still remember things that happened years ago that I wish I didn't watch live. And I actually did watch live. But we'll get into that in a bit.
Okay.
Because I'm going to tell you right now, spoiler alert, Cousin Jay, in case you were wondering, yes, for a 7th consecutive week, the Buckaroos have won my Bad or Brainless on this podcast. And I will continue. And I guess I know that there's been certain weeks that it was just, okay, I'm just giving it to them just to be an asshole. I've never, ever given a Brainless more warranted to 3 human beings like I did after what I saw happen on Wednesday night.
I mean, you're talking about it. Do you just want to roll with this?
Well, I mean, if you get the graphic up, then you know what's going to happen. I'm going to pull out the old bat and take a swing for the fences here. So they've been kind of teasing this whole Ric Flair was going to get a part in this whole Sting farewell thing. And let's be realistic, okay? I am so upset, bothered, and tismful from all of this shit because I absolutely hate, loathe, and despise the fact that those two called jackasses who call themselves the world's greatest tag team, who are only known for stupid exploding sneakers and super kicks, are the ones who are going to be getting Sting's last match. I actually would have preferred to watch 70-something-year-old Ric Flair get in the ring with Sting one last time than have to watch him.
He just turned 75.
75-year-old, 137-year-old Ric Flair. The man who's been around as long as Bobby Fish has in the wrestling business.
Hey, Frank, you hang around with Rick? How old is Ric Flair?
I would have rather have seen Ric Flair as the Black Scorpion going up against Sting than watching Nick and Matt super kick Sting and Darby Allin 446 times and then winning the tag team championships. I would have much rather have seen Duke the Dumpster Droese come out and wrestle Sting in his last match. Glacier. I would have rather have seen Big Papa Pump.
Yes, Glacier.
I would have rather have seen Goldberg. I would have rather have seen the Disco Inferno. I would have much rather have seen, who am I missing? Das Wunderkind, Alex Wright. I would have much rather have seen Mortis. I would have much rather have seen the Motor City Madman, Psycho Sid.
I forget that dude's name. Tim sent me a clip. Who was the plumber in WWE?
Oh, the plumber.
Him and Droese would have either been a formidable team, or they could have had, the match that would have been probably the second greatest gimmick match in SummerSlam history after the Mountie and Big Boss Man.
You can't do this to me! You can't do this to me! And it's crazy, too, because this isn't going to be the first time I mention the Mountie on the podcast! Yes! I'm Daniel Bryan, WrestleMania 30, yes! Yes! Give me all the Jacques Rougeau, baby! Woo!
Yeah.
Such a great gimmick and underappreciated performer, Jacques Rougeau. Who am I? I'm the Mountie. But anyway, back to the bullshit from Wednesday. I can sit here and list every single wrestler that has ever stepped foot inside a WCW ring. I can sit here and rattle off as many people I can think of who wrestled in TNA when Sting was there. And the sad part is I would probably name more people from those days with Sting and TNA than I would on the entire AEW roster right now. Sad. And I really never watched Impact, TNA. But you could have picked anyone. Anyone. But you give us these clowns. And it's not enough that you give us these two clowns are going to be getting Sting and Darby Allin in Sting's last match. And it's bad enough that these two fuckheads are going to be winning the tag team titles from Sting and Darby Allin in this match. But you found a way to drag Weekend at Bernie's into this storyline. And the reason I say that is because at this point now, at 75 years old, he's Bernie Lomax. That is exactly what Ric Flair is. He's Bernie Lomax. And you did the thing, and you look like, they had, Darby Allin held down, and Ric Flair had the bat. And then, go ahead, Jay. I don't even want to talk about it. Please just take over. I can't. Just go ahead, please. Go ahead.
One thing I
Go ahead.
What we ended up seeing.
Go ahead.
Ric Flair is 75 years old. Bless his heart that he could actually still get in the ring. Bless his heart.
What heart?
But then he started throwing punches. He used to have pretty decent work punches. There is a list of people that have the worst work punches in wrestling history. Shane McMahon is usually the top of the mountain here. We got
Not
people
anymore.
like Great Khali on that list. We got people like John Morrison on that list. We got John Cena on that list. We got Becky Lynch is another one whose punches are not
forearms.
Yeah.
It's not her punches. She throws another running forearm, I will shoot myself in the face.
What we saw from Ric Flair on Wednesday was just terrible. Followed up with the terrible work punches was bad camera angles and then the worst nut shot ever shown, slightly shown on TV.
Many, many, many years ago, I decided I think it was Thursday night, because I think that's when TNA was on back in the day, years ago. I remember putting it on. And at the time, I don't remember all the people who were in the match, but I will tell you this. The three people who stood out the most for me were Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, and the Monster Abyss. And I remember that in this leading up to this thing, Ric Flair was attacking Abyss. And this is after Ric Flair had already retired from WWE. And he got, I'm sorry, I loved you, super kicked. Get the fuck out. See you later, Ric Flair. He threw some of the shittiest punches I had ever seen. I know I have mentioned it to you on numerous occasions how embarrassed I was as a wrestling fan watching Ric Flair do what he did when he was wrestling Abyss the one time I actually put TNA on. I saw that Thursday morning, first thing that just came across my feed Thursday morning when I woke up was that. And I watched it. If I was not on my boycott for AEW right now, since back when the two fuckheads on Wednesday who hit the worst low blow I've ever seen in my life. If it wasn't for them doing that stupid victory lap in Chicago after they got CM Punk fired, I would have stopped watching AEW after Wednesday. That was the worst. That was awful. That was a train wreck that collided with a dumpster fire. I would be embarrassed if I was Shad Khan, that Tony Khan is my son running this wrestling promotion, and this is the fucking bullshit that they put out there. Oh, yeah, definitely, because it gets worse. Because it came out today that Brian Alvarez, who writes for the Wrestling Observer newsletter, he's Dave Meltzer's little, whatever the fuck he is from Meltzer. He's a failed wrestler who tries as a writer, and came out and said that there's a lot of issues in AEW because there's a lot of guys injured. There's a lot of uncooperative people. There's people who are unhappy with their standing. They come in the day of the show and they're told to do something. They're like, no, I don't want to do it. And Tony doesn't tell them to go and do it. It's bad. And on top of the video being so bad on Wednesday too, of that, their Instagram page had to block off comments from the people following or people who just see the thing on their page because the comments were so bad after what Ric Flair and the Bucks did. Topped off with all of this stuff that's happening. Will Ospreay's glorious return as a full-time competitor in AEW did 800,000 people on Wednesday. You've only sold 6,000 tickets to your Boston show because you don't want to say anything about Sasha Banks. Because you know that she's not going to be as big of a draw as you think she is. Hate to break it to you. Another bad investment. You got a lot of unhappy people in your roster. You give us that kind of bullshit on Wednesday where I actually question whether or not I want to continue being a wrestling fan. The only other time I've ever felt that way was after I watched Kenny wrestle his fuck doll that he shares with Kota Ibushi. This is ridiculous. It is awful. It is trash. You can't even tell your fans shit. The fact that the fans went after O'Shea Jackson, to the people out there, O'Shea Jackson happens to be the son of NWA member, not NWA Wrestling, Ice Cube. He also portrayed his father in Straight Outta Compton, O'Shea Jackson, happens to be a wrestling fan. And he came out and said, man, he goes, I don't understand this thing. He goes, my biggest problem with AEW is that they bring these people in here that I've never heard of, and it's like, who the fuck is this guy? You got to give me something. He goes, that's the difference between WWE and AEW, because WWE sits there and gives you a backstory about why you want to root for this person. AEW brings some guy in from Mexico that comes in like once every 9 months, and he's like, I'm supposed to know this? And then wrestling fans are like, oh, no, you should know who this guy is. Man, I don't have time for this shit. He goes out there and says this. And he's not wrong. They had a guy, I think it was either last week or this week, he's fighting Claudio on either Rampage or Collision, whatever freaking show that I'm sure we could get more viewers on than they do. He's fighting like somebody like Commander. He's fighting like somebody named Orange Juice or Pina Colada or some shit. I don't know what the fuck it is. He's fighting a chameleon, Karma Chameleon or something. I don't know. Never heard of this guy. He's got a point. You got to get me vested. And the fact that Brian Alvarez is coming out here and saying that people are poo-pooing everything that is outside of the pay-per-view because they don't want to do certain things and Tony's just too much of a pushover. That's why shit doesn't make sense. That's why you don't have long-term storytelling. Because you let people like Nick and Matt Jackson and Kenny Omega run shit and let them and their friends have all the say in the world. It just goes back to what Darby Allin said on Dynamite a couple weeks ago. I wasn't on the first episode of Dynamite and Steve Cutler was. Or Brandon Cutler. Or Jay Cutler. Or whoever it was. One of the Cutler boys. The one that looks like a really bad 70s acid trip with the stupid mask on his face and he really needs to trim his beard.
The one that doesn't have diabetes that was on the Chicago Bears.
Correct. I love Jay Cutler, by the way. That was my dude. Should have been Giants quarterback at one point.
Yeah.
The dude was great.
Always appreciate Mike Rainey said he would have rather have Darby Allin versus Sting for the final match. Sting more or less has said that like he just does not have enough gas to do a singles match. He's like, I have to do like tag team matches. Now he's looked good in those tag team matches, and I'm sure what we end up getting at Revolution will be a fine send-off for the Stinger. I'm holding out hope Tony Khan will do the right thing.
And fire the EVPs before Revolution?
Don't have the Bucks win.
Where is Revolution?
It's in North Carolina. Greensboro, North Carolina.
Oh, so it's driving distance.
Yeah.
So what you're saying to me, if I drive 3 hours south from here, by Sunday, I could actually prevent the Young Bucks from winning the tag team titles and ending Sting's career in a losing manner. His only loss in AEW.
Yes. You might get your ass kicked.
By who?
I mean, clearly not the Bucks.
Okay, that's all I need. Like, what?
I mean, and quite honestly, you could probably run over Darby Allin too.
I like Darby. I don't want to do that to him.
Sting is going to take a bat and hit you with it.
No, he's not. Because I'm going to run in the ring and be like, Sting, I'm your biggest fan. And then just attack the Bucks.
Wait. Just a second. You sure you're not going to go in there and just go, Sting?
No. I'm going to get in there. I'm going to look at him and go, this is Sting. I'm sorry. This is Sting. And then kick the other two in the nuts. I didn't say, and honestly, I don't need to take them out during the match, Jay. I just need to make sure that they don't get to the match.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they're going to be walking to the arena super kicking nothing. What are they going to do? Are they going to super kick me? Is that what they're going to do? I mean, really, what are they going to do?
Yeah.
Do either one of them look like they've ever been in an actual fight?
Well, I mean, clearly the one that they got into, I mean, Cousin Chris got the better of them. CM Punk got the better of them. CM Punk's dog,
Cousin Chris,
got the better of them. So much so that CM Punk wants the dog to be in WWE 2K25. Talk
about a quick. Oh, what's the dog's name? Oh, wait.
The Wonder Kid.
The Wonder Kid. I think my audio's out.
Yeah, it's kind of going in and out, but. Yeah.
Should I try popping out and popping back in?
Sounds all right now.
You sure? Because I feel like I'm delayed.
No, it's good right now.
Huh.
Just go for it.
All right, we'll keep going. We'll keep moving along.
Hit it and quit it.
Thank you, sir. But yeah, I can't. I will do everything in my power to go down there in North Carolina to Flair Country, and I will stop those two fuckheads from doing an absolute massacre in professional wrestling. I can prevent this.
Make a call to the Man Scout. Maybe he'll join you.
It's not even just that upsets me. I hate the fact that I didn't know that they were doing a meat shield match at Revolution until they canceled it. Are you telling me that Tony Khan has secretly been trying to persuade me to come back to being all elite by offering a big meaty man slapping the shit out of each other match?
Yeah.
And you're also telling me that Powerhouse Hobbs, the Wardlow, Keith Lee, Rusev, all those guys were going to be in that match. And then it got canceled.
I mean, a lot of those big meaty dudes are still in the match. But
does he know what he's doing with Wardlow?
No.
I got nothing else to say because that's all that's all I can say. He's done. How you can drop the ball with Wardlow after you gave him the match he had against MJF is they're going to be studying that for decades. Just like my brain when I'm gone, they're going to be studying Tony Khan's fumbling of the Wardlow after he fumbled the Wardlow the way he did.
They built Wardlow up so well. Like having him squash MJF. Then after that, like absolute drizzle shits. I mean, we're talking like sad level of drizzle shits. We're not talking Clash 13 highlight of the night. So shitty, it's funny. Like quite literally, they made it so shitty, it's sad with Wardlow. You teed it up beautifully. Then you fumbled the ball inside the arc. And couldn't figure the damn thing out. It was like quite literally to me, like one of the few people that they had actually built and gotten over as like an AEW original.
Yeah. It's mind blowing. I still can't how you can have a guy that looks like that. I know he's not the greatest on the mic, but Roman Reigns sucked on the microphone for 5 years. And look at him. He's the tribal chief. He's the head of the table. He has been world heavyweight champion since COVID. He's the biggest star in the biggest wrestling promotion in the world. And the Wardlow, who we might as well just start calling the Warlord, because he's no different than the Warlord. Oh, God. I knew I was going to do that too. I was absolutely going to brainless myself on that. All right. Hold on. We might as well just call Wardlow the Warlord because he's nothing more than the Warlord of AEW. God. Oh, I don't think I have any brain cells left.
Well, I mean, that's what brainless implies.
Oh, damn. You know, I don't know if it was the water in Bristol or if it was the fact that I got my education from Bristol Eastern or the fact that I was actually ranked dead last out of my entire graduating class. But it's neither near nor there nor anywhere. Got to sell the gimmick somehow.
Yeah.
But it still wasn't as brainless as having 75-year-old Ric Flair take the worst nut shot and deliver the worst punches ever. That's all I'm going to say.
So you're going to put Ric Flair's punches worse than Shane McMahon?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Is it worse than the Dark Order that time?
No.
Okay.
That was just that was like those were the punches I would throw at Gino when he was a toddler. The ones that were not coming within 4 or 5 feet of his face. Where I'm swinging at nothing.
So you're saying it's Ron Zombie level professional wrestling?
Yes, that's what AEW is. Ron Zombie should be working in AEW. Let's be serious for 2 seconds. He sold that chair just as much as John Cena sold that DDT outside the ring.
Yes.
He didn't even hit the chair, Dad.
Chris Brown says, which was uglier, Ric Flair's botched ball spot or Vince's stunner? And I'm assuming he's talking about last year's 2 years ago WrestleMania.
Oh, that would.
At least the Vince spot became funny because of how Stone Cold reacted to it.
Yeah.
Again, the whole idea is so bad that it's good. Where so many things about what they did on Wednesday was just like Ugh.
Jay,
Ugh.
when people realize that the brainless one is actually smart, which will probably never happen except for maybe in November in 2020, later this year, when I once again I am running for
When you
president in
win.
2024, make America brainless again. Vote green.
We're already there, brother. We're already there.
Yeah, we are. Yes, we certainly are. But we're not gonna get into that. But again, I can make America less brainless again. That's all I'm gonna say. But shit, I lost my train of thought. I apologize.
Hey, you know what? Let's move on to some fun things that happened this week. Just to roll with this. Did you see Haku for the first time seeing the Shockmaster?
Okay. I've never felt better about myself as a wrestling fan in my entire life than knowing that somebody who is actually in the industry had gone a longer period of time without seeing the botch of all botches. Of course, I had to go watch that. It's fucking Haku. That is literally the baddest man that has ever stepped foot inside of a wrestling ring. If I was going to actually do that scenario where I had the three, Jason, Freddie, and Michael Myers one way and Brock Lesnar the other way, I'm taking my chances with Freddie, Jason, and Michael. If I have Haku, I'm going after all four. That is the literal most dangerous man on the planet. I would never, ever, ever fuck with Haku. So to have him watch the shock man and he lose it was an absolute treasure of something I never thought I was going to see. That was great. I watched it 6 times.
For me, with the video, watching it, like the first time he sees it, he like you could see him kind of like laughing a little bit, and then all of a sudden, it just like flowered.
Yeah,
he went like where he just could not stop laughing, and he's like, "Oh, look at it! He got the gimmick, you know. He fell face first."
Oh, it was gold.
Awesome. From like going, oh yeah, that's pretty funny, to all of a sudden like, oh.
It was, in the words of the new Voldemort, it was such good shit, pal. Is that what we're doing now with Vince McMahon, or is the only Voldemort redacted from Canada? Okay, this is what we're going to do from now on. Chris, I don't even want to say it. I don't even want to say it. Redacted.
Voldemort from Edmonton.
The Canadian Voldemort will be redacted. And the dastardly Voldemort will be Vince McMahon. I like that. I actually like that idea. Not bad on the fly. Oh. And they call me the brainless one.
Ha! Yeah?
Just remember, I forgot. It's not just a gimmick, it's a lifestyle, folks. But I am glad that you did mention Haku.
Haku is a treasure.
Haku is a treasure. Not like R-Truth, but I still love Haku. And again, if I'm starting a wrestling promotion.
R-Truth had 2 videos this week. I was just like,
that's not where I was going, but this is even better. Let's of course.
We are not worthy of you. The first one was R-Truth. I think it was the day of Elimination Chamber. He's like, hey, I'm here in Austria. And I can't see anything. I'm here at the arena and nobody's here. Somebody tell me. Where's the match?
mate. Back to the airport. I've seen it. I've seen that video enough times. I watched it at least 30 consecutive times when it came out last week, at least in a row. It was gold. That is R-Truth at its finest. That is effing Mark's Hall of Famer R-Truth. Let's be serious. He is now in the Curtis Axel class of belonging in the effing Mark's Hall of Fame for the wrestling side. It's incredible. I was curious what they were going to do with it. I really was. And he didn't disappoint. And then how did he follow it up, Cousin Jay?
And then later in the week, he posts a video talking about Johnny Wrestling and how he reminds him so much of Shawn Michaels.
You're gonna be the next Shawn Michaels. I was watching it, Jay. I'm not kidding you when I tell you this. I said if he's not talking to Shawn Michaels, I'm gonna be so pissed. And then he was talking to Shawn Michaels, and I lost it. I went back and watched it again. I was laughing so hard. It was like for you, you tame my monster. That's what it was for me. Him talking to Shawn, when he says you're the next Shawn Michaels or the next HBK, and he's talking to Shawn Michaels, I fucking lost it. And I'm like, I wonder if Shawn Michaels knows if it's really R-Truth, because God only knows which eye is watching him. I got my eye on you, HBK. I got my eye on you. You're going to be the next HBK. Don't worry. HBK's got at least one of his eyes on you too, R-Truth. Honest to goodness, it really does show how much Triple H and Shawn Michaels really like R-Truth. It really does. Because
Vince clearly loves him. Triple H clearly loves him. Shawn Michaels clearly loves him because, I'm pretty sure Shawn Michaels wouldn't let anyone else get away with doing something like that.
It made up for that whole awkward thing with him and CM Punk at NXT TakeOver. When Punk showed up in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and CM Punk has been in Bridgeport, Connecticut more recently than the Brainless one has.
Yeah.
Again, that is actually something I'm proud of because nobody wants to go to Bridgeport, Connecticut.
Yeah.
Yeah. You go to a fine establishment. If you want to go somewhere, you go to Plainville, Connecticut, and get yourself some chicken wings.
Yeah.
Tell me when
a
I'm telling
couple of places you could go there.
And you wouldn't be disappointed at either one.
Yeah.
That's a brainless guarantee right there. Just like when I win in November and I get my inauguration day on January 20th. January 21st, I shut the border. Both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Vote Brainless one 2024. Guy Rule 2024. Make America less brainless again. We represent the Green Party.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I know we mentioned Haku. I know we went the R-Truth route, and of course I'm very, very happy about that, just because I love the fact that him and Shawn Michaels had that video, and I'm going to watch it again after the podcast. But since we did mention Haku, his son, Toma Tonga, is now officially done with New Japan Pro Wrestling and is inbound to WWE. And if he's going to NXT, that makes a hell of a lot of sense about why we've been seeing Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson down there. I'm sorry,
yeah.
Carl Anderson and Festus. Because unlike Vince McMahon, I know that there is not a difference between Festus and Luke Gallows. I do know that they are the same person. They are not different people, Vince McMahon. I'm sorry, the dastardly Voldemort.
Yeah.
But I think this is good. I know he's up there. He's like 41 years old, so it's like, all right, what is he really going to do? But hey, anytime WWE could take somebody that AEW could get, it's a W. I don't care what anybody says.
Hey, they brought in Bobby Roode in his late 30s. They brought in AJ Styles in his late 30s. And both of them had very fine runs in WWE. AJ still is having a run, and Bobby Roode is taking a position backstage after having to go through 2 neck fusion surgeries.
Yeah, but to be fair, Cousin Jay, AJ Styles is a GOAT.
He is. Thanks, Kevin Dunn, for screwing up his entrance.
I still believe that there's nobody who has a better resume of opponents at WrestleMania like AJ Styles has. He's fought who's who of who's at WrestleMania.
I mean, you got people like Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker, clearly.
I don't know, Jay. You compare, think about this. He fought Chris Jericho, Randy Orton, Edge. I mean, yes, I know Shane McMahon's not but it's still Shane McMahon.
They had one of the best matches on the card.
They did. I think they had the best match of the card. But he fought the New Day. They're the most decorated tag team in the last decade in WWE. Kofi Kingston's a surefire first ballot Hall of Famer. Put some respect on that man's name. He won the WWE Championship at WrestleMania.
He retired The Undertaker. Playa.
Yeah. I'm just saying. That's why. But AJ Styles is a GOAT. And I think it's good because I'm excited to see what Toma Tonga does. I like to see him go down to NXT because I enjoy NXT as it is. And now we got Braun Breaker on the main roster, and he's on SmackDown every Friday. Now I love SmackDown even more because my new favorite wrestler in WWE is on the SmackDown roster.
And we did have a returning Shawn Spears this week on NXT.
Speaking of new favorite wrestlers in NXT.
Right. But even beyond that, one current NXT wrestler, actually, Baron Corbin, actually won a silver medal at I think it was the World Jiu-Jitsu Championship this week. It's like the dude is wrestling full time and has a life outside of wrestling. And, as much as he never made it to being a professional boxer, as much as he never played in an NFL game, you want to talk about a top-level athlete? The dude was a Gold Gloves boxer. He was on the practice squad of an NFL team, and now he's a silver medalist in jiu-jitsu. Dude's pretty badass. And he's had a heck of a run since he's gone down to NXT.
I enjoy Baron Corbin. He is no longer bum-ass Corbin to me. That man deserves his flowers. He has been busting his ass the last couple of years. He's been saddled with some really shitty gimmicks. The broke Corbin. I'm begging you. He should have stayed on
Olive
as
Garden
the
waiter.
I've been saying it for years. But yeah, I'm glad to see Toma Tonga in NXT. I'm glad to see Baron Corbin getting his moment, and I'm glad to see Shawn Spears, and he's gonna be Shawn Spears in NXT. He left as Ty Dillinger and came back as Shawn Spears, and the first thing he did was he clocked Ridge Holland with a chair. Shawn Spears is once again my favorite wrestler in NXT.
It felt like they tried a couple times to do stuff with him in AEW, but it really never took off anywhere. At this point in his career, it's let him have a little bit of a run before he, becomes a coach. At this point, I don't think it'll happen for him as far as being a top level talent, but he could do stuff. Just like when they had. Why am I blanking on his name? Brian Kendrick.
Oh,
They
yeah.
more or less brought him in to be a coach, but they had him go and wrestle. It feels like that's kind of the role I think Shawn Spears should be in at this point. He's a fine performer, and I think he could help teach the younger generation to do stuff in the ring and to figure out character. Because as much as solid performer in the ring, he was able to get some stuff over, and I think he could teach that to people. Because some folks just don't get it, but good for him. The dude took a stunner from Tony Khan.
Yeah, I saw that video earlier today too.
So
they said the moment that Shawn Spears knew he was going back to NXT.
Yeah,
said I would too. I can see him.
Speaking of people that are a little older that are in the professional wrestling business coming back to a company, I saw an interview with QT Marshall where he said he will not be returning to AEW TV as a performer.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that motherfucker's name, because part of the reason why I was a little late to the party was because as I was writing the notes, I was going through my notes and I was getting it all together. And as I'm going through it, I'm going through all the websites to make sure I don't miss anything. And I just so happened on Facebook came across a post where they said former WWE star says he wasn't used right in AEW. And I said, okay, let's see where this is going. So I clicked on the link and I started reading it, and they were like, and the wrestler in question is QT Marshall. What? Can somebody out there right now explain to me when QT Marshall was a star in WWE? Yes, I know for a fact that I did miss a couple of years after Stone Cold Steve Austin and Vince McMahon joined forces during WrestleMania 17's main event, and sometime when John Cena was freestyle rapping to the ring. I missed a huge chunk. We'll just call it the Heidenreich years because I missed all of Heidenreich's career. I didn't know what a Maven was because I didn't see him eliminate The Undertaker in the Royal Rumble, and I don't regret it. But at the end of the day, I have watched an exuberant, unnecessary amount of WWE, WWF programming over the decades. I can say with certainty that I have never, ever come across a star ever in WWE by the name of QT Marshall. There was never any stupid QTV segments. There wasn't any stupid fucking factory. There wasn't some bloated-faced fuckhead calling himself a star in WWE. I don't know where they got this from. I don't know whoever wrote this page. I commented on it, and I want you all to go after them. Read my comments if you see it, if you come across it. It's on my personal page. Somebody needs to explain to me not only when was QT Marshall a star in WWE, but when was he in WWE? Did he have one of those things where he played a security guard in St. Louis, Missouri, and he got beat up by Brock Lesnar and John Cena?
Yeah, probably.
Was he like the 9th person to lose to Braun Strowman? Did he team up with Marty Jannetty in like 1997 in a losing effort to the Nasty Boys? I mean, was he in Kaientai? Was he supposed to be the Black Scorpion? Was he one of the Black Scorpions? Was he one of the Ninja Turtles? Was he one of the lesbians? Was he Nacho Libre? Somebody tell me where. Just point me in the direction. I just want to see
at Chuck's, thing.
I just yeah. What was he shown in the Cody Rhodes documentary? So now he's considered a WWE star. It's bad enough that some of these pages, and I'm not going to name names. It's bad enough. All these pages are like former WWE star, and it's like this guy had like 7 matches in WWE. WWE star. Grand Metallica was never a star in WWE. It's the ones that
Chris Brown said he could have been one of the lesser-known Doink the Clowns.
Oh, he was Dink. I knew it. No, he was Bastion Booger, wasn't he? He lost all that weight. Now he's not Bastion Booger. You could just see it in his face because it's all bloated. He looks like I ate a peanut, and he's allergic. That's what he looks like.
Mike Rainey said that he had a grand total of 4 matches in WWE.
Oh.
WWE star. Not a superstar.
So that's the bar. The bar is now on this in this world. That's the new bar. Oh yeah, I screwed it up. There we go. That's the new bar. QT Marshall is a former WWE star after appearing in 4 matches. If that was the case, and the running rate of what it is between WWE promotions and independent promotions, then I'm a former big-time wrestling star. Because I actually got into the ring, or was it Top Rope Promotions? It was one of the two. Wherever I saw the whole effing show.
Big-time wrestling.
And then I'm a big-time wrestling star. Because I actually stepped into the ring with Rob Van Dam.
Yeah.
Technically, I was getting my picture taken. And yes, I did think about climbing into the corner turnbuckle and doing some kind of pose. But I was like, I'm probably going to fall and blow up my ACL. But anyway, that's what we're doing. So is he above the Coco Beware line?
No.
Didn't we come up with like a new, it's Coco Beware and somebody else line? It's not Nikolai Volkov. I refuse to add Nikolai Volkov to that line.
Great Khali.
It's the Great Khali Coco Beware line. That's what it was. It was like a combined line. That is like the Pan Am connection thing. That's the line. So what you're telling me, QT Marshall is over the Coco Beware Great Khali line in regards to being a star, WWE star.
Maybe.
Who are his 4 opponents? Let's go that route. Mike Rainey.
That means that he had double the matches of Kazarni, and he had almost just as many matches as Sting. Because I believe Sting had 5 WWE matches.
Here's a name from the past, and I can't believe I'm going to pull this one out of my ass. It's definitely in my colon. He had just as many matches as Kazarni and Braden Walker combined. The guy who came over from Impact Wrestling with much fanfare, and they showed him on, I think it was ECW when it was, back when NXT was ECW, and he actually looked like the living embodiment of vanilla pudding. He had no personality.
I like vanilla pudding.
They did nothing with that man. He was supposed to be a big star that they were bringing over from Impact, and he didn't do dick for the entire time. He wrestled like 2 matches. Somebody please, Mike Rainey, please, for the love of the Brainless One, I need to know who his 4 opponents are. I need to know if it's like Braun Strowman, the Big Show, Mark Henry, and like the Great Khali. I need to know if he wrestled like Duke Droese. I need to know these things because this is all new to me. Because number one, I didn't know that you could be called a star in a wrestling promotion after having 4 matches that nobody remembers. Did you remember those matches, Jay? Did you know that QT Marshall wrestled in WWE?
I'm going to guess maybe he went against the Big Show during the GTV days, maybe. Yeah.
There's got to be, like, there's no fucking way that bloated-faced fuck was ever in WWE, because I would have remembered that. Because I'm one of those people that I never forget a face like that. It's, for crying out loud, it's been 5 years. I still have the face that Bayley made when her wacky waving inflatable Bayley buddies didn't inflate. It was, I swear she was like it was the prime definition of a sad puppy dog look. I will never forget that. Ms. Girl face, will never forget that look. I will never forget the look that Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff had on his face when Brock Lesnar told Hulk Hogan, "Party's over, Grandpa."
Grandpa, yeah.
I will never forget Santino's face when he was doing Tea Time with Santino with Sheamus. There's a lot of things I will never forget. So believe me when I tell you, when you have a punchable face like QT Marshall and you are in professional wrestling and the Brainless one has seen you wrestle at least once, believe me when I tell you, I will remember it. And you have a memorable, for whatever reason, puffy-faced fuck. I don't know how the hell I fucking remember. I don't know what it is. Anybody, please. Can we get the... I'll look it up after. It's fine. It's fine. I'll look it after.
It's fine. While we're on the topic of AEW and
I thought you were going to say QT Marshall.
Have you seen the new graphics that they're going to use?
For what?
For Dynamite.
But how would I know that? I don't watch Dynamite. I don't
You don't need to watch Dynamite.
I didn't know they were doing it. I don't know why, but I just got really congested.
Like they made some modifications in the font that they're using, and then they made it's almost like tie-dye around like the edges. It would look great if they were like trying to like promote like Frankenberry. But like to me, if you're trying to promote a wrestling show, I don't think it quite works.
Jay, I'm going to tell you right now, if they came up with a new logo, new panel, new something, new anything in AEW, if I put it on AEW Dynamite in 3 months, I wouldn't know there was a difference. I couldn't tell you what AEW... I don't know. I really don't. I don't think people realize how strong of a hatred I have for Kenny, Nikki, and Maddie that I will not watch that fucking product. And I feel so bad because my hero, the Danhausen, the very nice, very evil, 2-time Marquee Award winning Danhausen. I miss watching Danhausen. The fact that he actually fights Jay Cutler's brother on an episode of Ring of Honor, I need to see. Just like when I needed to see, and I would love to see Danhausen in the pockets. They're supposed to win the AEW Tag Team titles. Instead, they're going to let these two fucking assholes do it.
Ugh.
By the way, I don't even know what's going on. What has Plumber Mox been up to? He's been plunging some toilets lately, getting into some death matches. Is it him and Eddie? How many is my hero, the belt collector, still collecting belts?
He is collecting belts, and he is going against
Daniel Bryanson.
Daniel Bryanson for the Continental Championship. What's it called? Continental Crown Championship at AEW Revolution. Plumber Mox is in a match with Claudio Castagnoli against FTR. At least for the time being, until what's his name goes to jail for brandishing a gun during a road rage incident in Florida.
So I know, I'm not even going to ask. Just because off the top of my head, I know of at least 3 matches and a shit ton of WWE's former stars are in them.
Well, I mean, we have the GOAT going against Daniel Garcia in a match for the TNT title.
That's what they're doing with Christian Cage. Oh, that's right. That's what
Christian is going to try to become Daniel Garcia's dad.
I just want everybody to know, if last week's episode had actually happened, my good for this week was the fact that Christian Cage gave the address to the cemetery that Daniel Garcia's dad was buried at, and people Googled it and found out that's where it was. He won it again. It's settled. We're gonna have so many Marquee Awards figured out before. We might as well just do the Marquee Awards in like June, because we're already gonna have Shitbag of the Year. We're gonna have Brainless Moment of the Year. We're probably gonna have Markout Moment of the Year. I'm gonna create at least 27 categories for R-Truth to win a whole bunch of shit. He might even get my Markout Moment because it's R-Truth.
I'm sorry, it's really going to be tough to overcome Kevin Dunn retiring.
Yes, that is very, very true. That's right. We have the Markout Moment of the Year.
I mean, that happened like the first day of the year.
It literally did. January 1st. That is literally the fastest and quickest a Marquee Award was ever won.
What? Are you saying that Kevin Dunn may have won his Marquee Award quicker than Roman Reigns?
Yes. And it's because we have discussed this in previous years of the podcast, Cousin Jay. It is because that at any given moment, if Roman Reigns cuts those locks, he is automatically disqualified for wettest hair. So if, let's hypothetically say, he loses the championship to Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania, and he returns at like the SmackDown right before the year ends, right before the Marquee Awards, and he comes back with a head like Stone Cold Steve Austin, guess what? Somebody else is winning the wettest hair award.
Okay.
I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be like that scene in SpongeBob when SpongeBob forgets his name and all the little SpongeBobs in his head start, panicking and frantically running around. That's where my brain works. That's exactly how my brain works. Is that's little brainless ones running around in my brain, going on. What are we going to do? Who's going to win the wettest hair? Who's going to win the wettest hair? What are we going to do? It's going to every year he wins it. What are we going to do?
I mean, in my mind, at this moment, it would be, I think a good second is either McIntyre or Rollins.
I was thinking Rollins. I was really thinking Rollins.
Drew McIntyre is super greased.
Drew McIntyre is not winning the WWE World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania.
I think he is.
No, I have a theory.
This guy sucks.
We will have a successful cash-in after Seth Rollins beats Drew in a bullshit way, like rolling him up for a pin. Seth Rollins is going to be celebrating. Drew's going to beat the shit out of him, so he's incapacitated. And then that's when Damian Priest comes in, cashes in the briefcase.
Cassius Ohno.
Seth Rollins, incensed about it, still goes out there and helps Cody Rhodes in his attempts to beat Roman Reigns and turns on him. Roman Reigns wins. There's my tinfoil hat theory.
Yeah.
Everything is connected.
Okay.
And it's all going to start because CM Punk. It's all going to start. All of this happens. Everything is going to happen. Roman Reigns is going to walk out of WrestleMania 40 Night 2 with the WWE Universal Championship because Luke Perry didn't wear a condom.
Sad.
Because If CM Punk had never got hurt at the Royal Rumble, he was going to win either the Rumble or Elimination Chamber, fight Seth Rollins. But now, because CM Punk's out, The Rock is in, and now The Rock is thrusting himself into this thing. I'm telling you, it makes way too much sense, and I hate the fact to admit it. It makes way too much sense to have Seth turn on him. Then I really as much as I like Drew, and I really hope in my heart of hearts, I really do. I hope Drew McIntyre wins it. There's not a human being on planet Earth right now I feel like deserves to win that championship more than he does. That man has busted his ass his entire reign as WWE champion. The one thing he wanted the most in this world, he got it during the COVID era. He was the champion during the Thunderdome. He deserves to be the world heavyweight champion in the worst possible way. And if he beats Seth Rollins at WrestleMania 40, I'm going to be very, very happy for Drew McIntyre because he absolutely deserves it. He has been doing his best work. He has been a masterclass in all of this during his heel run. And absolutely, from the bottom of my heart, I mean this. He deserves to be the world heavyweight champion walking out of WrestleMania weekend. However, it makes way too much sense, storyline-wise, to have him lose the way I said. And then have him do what he did. Because what else are you going to do with Damian Priest? It's either that or you just keep milking this shit for as long as you can, and then he runs out of time. And then we finally had a guy who did not cash in his Money in the Bank briefcase in the time, and it lapsed. What are you doing? What are you going to do? That's why as much as honestly, it makes too much sense for Drew to win the title. However, I just think that, you know me, I like chaos.
Yes.
And I know Drew losing the title, beating up Seth will definitely lead to Seth costing, because he's going to get jealous. So why is Cody going to win the title when I can't win the title? Why did he pick? Because if Cody had picked me, because it makes all the sense. Because if Cody had picked me, I would have beaten Cody at WrestleMania. But no, he had to pick Roman, so I had to fight Drew. Drew got mad, beat me up, and I lost the title because freaking Damian Priest cashed in on me. This is bullshit. So if I can't walk out as world heavyweight champion, why should Cody Rhodes walk out as WWE champion? Why not just let these fans endure another 300 million years of Roman Reigns as champion until the rightful person to come in, and that is the man who invented professional wrestling himself, Bobby Fish, returns to WWE and proves to everyone that not only is he the tribal chief, he is the head of the table. The same table he sat at with Jesus and the rest of the disciples as Bobby Fish was in there. You look at that picture, you tell me that Bobby Fish was not one of the disciples at the Last Supper. He's in that picture, and you know it. Just like he was in that picture of Abraham Lincoln wrestling.
Yes. I mean, he's in that picture with all the Civil War generals.
Yes,
we have him with Frank Gotch.
We have that picture of him getting off the Mayflower, too.
Yeah, I mean, there's those hieroglyphs of the fish in the pyramids at Giza. So you got that. Speaking of some interesting interviews and interesting things that have come out, Pat McAfee said, "Oh yeah, at this point in my life, I'm putting so much stuff in my body, I could not pass WWE's drug test. I could not perform at WrestleMania." He's like, yeah, I'm just trying to keep my body what it is at this point. You go from that. Then you go to former performer in WWE, Matt Riddle, who loves the cocaine.
Can I just say that it was very close that my top 10 list was going to be the top 10 wrestlers I'd like to stop hearing from or hearing about, and he was going to be right near the top of my list with the Disco Inferno and the Ryback.
The fact that like he's trying to make it seem like the reason why he's out of WWE had more to do with the fact that he was about to have $1 million due to him for his contract, not the fact that he was a fuck up and that he like was drunk and pestered, people as he was getting off the plane back in the United States after they had gone to India. Nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with the fact that you rubbed just about everybody wrong behind the scenes and were super douchebag. But like, it's just funny to me that like you got Pat McAfee like going out here, yeah, I'm taking all sorts of shit, and I would not be cleared to wrestle in WrestleMania. And you got Matt Riddle more or less claiming that, oh yeah, I was on cocaine, I failed numerous drug tests, and we know that he got suspended like a time or two, and we know that he was told by WWE, you need to go and clean up right now. Like, how many tests did he fail? And if he failed cocaine tests, what's going to stop Pat McAfee from going into WrestleMania? It didn't stop him from being in the Royal Rumble.
I mean,
and there's that thing also where, like, there were some full-time performers that were kind of pissed off about Brock Lesnar because he's was part-time, that he did not have to take the same tests. So I'm wondering if somebody like McAfee, like, he part-time performer, we don't need to worry about whether or not he's taking human growth hormone or taking steroids.
Oh, please. That's not what he's on. We all know that Pat McAfee hangs out with Aaron Rodgers. That dude smokes a lot of pot and does shrooms. Let's be serious.
He does that. Darkness.
Trust me. As somebody who's been a part of many circle of friends and many, circle of friends that I'm not very proud of over the years. So when I find out that he's on things and he can't pass a drug test, and I know he hangs out with Aaron Rodgers, it's not because he's taking human growth hormones or any of that shit. It's because he's smoking the ganj and he's doing shrooms and hallucinating with Aaron Rodgers, because and I know that if I was hanging out with Aaron Rodgers, I would absolutely 1,000% be smoking the ganj and taking shrooms with him.
And then punch him in the dick. Better than fuck.
I love Aaron Rodgers. I will never do anything of the sort.
I dislike him.
I won my last Super Bowl in fantasy football because of Aaron Rodgers. He will forever be in my heart. Just like his predecessor, Brett Favre, was the first person I ever won fantasy football with as my quarterback.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, and the whole thing with cocaine, come on. Name me a wrestler in the 80s who didn't do cocaine. Bret the Hitman Hart. Speaking of which,
it was different times.
Speaking of which, I have never done cocaine in my life, and I never will. However, if I ever came across Lawrence Taylor and he offered, I would do it. Just like I kicked myself for 11 years ago when I did not smoke pot with RVD in Webster, Mass. At Top Rope Promotions. When I watched Big Time Wrestling with future FN Marks Hall of Famer Sean O. And I watched Bobby Lashley lose to a local competitor who was a third, not even a half, a third of his size.
Mm.
And one of the girls from Impact TNA Wrestling was there, and nobody came and saw her. And then to make matters worse, I called a WWE Hall of Famer the garbage man, the janitor. Hey guys, how's it going? Hey, what's up?
Oh.
I could sit here and come up with every excuse I could possibly come up with, but I am sorry, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I will never do such a thing again. And like I said before in a previous episode of the podcast, I have seen you wrestle more outside of WWE than I have inside of WWE. So
another WWE thing, I watched a couple of episodes. I'm done. I gave it a shot. Loving WWE.
Oh, really?
Montez and Bianca. I know set up as a reality show. so much of it, like immediately you're like, this is just staged. This is like super produced. It's like reality TV should feel raw and like off the cuff. Almost none of it felt like that. I mean, there's a scene where Bianca is trying to take out a bug that's in their kitchen with her hair. But like the premise more or less of the first 2 episodes is Montez, wants to have a kid. Bianca's like, I want to have a kid, but not now. Bianca's mom wants her to have a kid. Everybody in every episode is like, so when are you going to have a kid? And it's like, there were like very small slivers of actual like, oh, I get to know this human being a little bit more. Mm-hmm. Like they had this one episode where more or less they were making like Dawkins out to be like more or less their little child.
That's funny.
I mean, and they did talk about how, Montez came back after injury to the Royal Rumble to last 11 seconds. And they kind of get into him being a little ticked off about that and really needing to have a moment. And they really built, I think it was the second episode, about how he really needed to slam Otis to really show and put his stamp that he was back. And as much as there's a little part of me that's like, going, yeah, hey, you know what? Check out some more episodes. No. When I see executive producer Kevin Dunn.
Yep. That's all you needed. Nope. That's all you needed to see.
I was hoping for bigger and better things. About the only interesting thing I saw is I got to see Bianca without the super long braid on the back for a moment. That's about it.
Give it time. Let it resonate for as long as it has. Eventually, the stench of Bucky Beaver will be off of that show when he's no longer, executive producer. Then give it a shot. But as long as that name is attached to that show, I wouldn't come within 100 yards of it. And that's sad, too, because I was actually looking forward to that because I enjoy both of them as characters and superstars.
Right.
Superstars.
I mean, I think Kinsley might enjoy it. I mean, Bianca clearly is in it a lot.
Yeah. Oh, maybe.
But I mean, there's this one scene where, like, they're getting ready for WrestleMania, and Bianca's talking about, like, hey, I really need to, like, have my physique be the best it can be. And there's this one part where they're at the Performance Center, and Bianca's lifting weights, and it's, like, Montez, and I think it's Dawkins and Omos, and there's a part where, like, Bianca, like, does, like, a clean jerk of, a good amount of weight. But the three of them are there, and, like, all three of them simultaneously, like, damn! I'm like, what streams produced more than 3 men in unison saying damn? Like, yeah, this is completely unrehearsed. They have not been told to do this. This is not, like, it's stuff like that just like, come on, man. It's supposed to be a reality show. Clearly it's not.
Hold on. Time out. Are you telling me that Omos is in the show?
He is in the show.
Oh, I'm definitely checking it out then. I don't care about anything else. I'm going to check it out.
Sapien.
I am an Omos sapien. I am on board. I need all the Omos in my life. I'm so going to check this out now. Absolutely.
It's not very good. But
no, I mean,
like I said, Kinsley will like it because Bianca's in it a lot.
All I'm going to say is I will watch the first episode until I can no longer withstand any more of whatever Bucky Beaver has done to it, and then I'll stop. But I'm going to try to get to Omos.
Okay.
Just because I'm a fan and I want to see him on the show. Speaking of seeing people at the show, so WWE was running some house shows this week. And in one of the shows, Maxine Dupree was wrestling. And she got booed. And people in the crowd were telling her she People were upset. Wrestlers were upset. People were coming out to her to support, saying that she's trying, she's doing all this stuff. I appreciate the wrestlers coming out the way they did. I do. Because at the end of the day, you're all supposed to support the locker room together. As a podcast co-host, Cousin Jay, what is your thoughts about not only the fans booing, but the wrestlers coming out to Maxine Dupree's defense?
I think all sides are justified. Wrestling fans pay money to go to a show. They pay hard-earned money to go to a show. No matter how hard a performer is working to get better at their craft, the people who came to the show paid money to hopefully see well-trained people performing at a high level for something that entertains them. If they're not entertained, or if that person's really good at their job and gets the crowd to boo them because the crowd, completely Dom Mysterios.
Yep. Good analogy.
It is absolutely up to the crowd whether or not they want to boo. I'm guessing Maxine really is trying her damnedest. I hope that this is like a thing of fuel for Maxine. If this bothers her, let it bother her enough that she'll work just a little bit harder to not get the boos anymore. Dominic Mysterio was that for a while. He was the government mule getting kicked every moment of every day, us included. And he worked through it. He figured out his path. If this is really the path Maxine wants to take for her life and her career, she will keep working her tail off and she will figure it out. And I get what the performers in the locker room are doing for her. You want to back up your coworker. You see the hard work and you're like, and I'm sure she probably, like, you work that hard and you get crapped on. I'm sure it's not very pleasant when you get back to the locker room. Thinking about, like, I had dedicated my life and myself to this. And this is what I get. What the ever-living heck? You want to talk about a life crisis? I get why the performers are backing her up. I get why the fans would want to shout her down and be like, you suck. I get both ends of this. All that being said, as a fan myself, when I pay my money, I'm entitled to say and do more or less what I want, as long as I am not trying to inflict any sort of real harm on somebody.
Yeah. Whatever do you mean, Cousin Jay? But all honestly, you hit the nail right on the head. You hit the nail right on the head. It was absolutely word for word. I would have said the same thing. I appreciate the fact that the locker room is coming out and supporting her because that's the best way to do it. You got to support the locker room. And Rhea Ripley, I believe, was one of the people that actually supported her. I know Zelina Vega was definitely one of them too. And I appreciate that because you need to build up the women in this division to get them all better. And I do hope that Maxine uses this as a way to catapult herself to get better into the ring because that's what it worked for a lot of people. I mean, look at, like you said, Dominic Mysterio, perfect example. He was getting the Baron Corbin boos and not in the good way. Now he's getting he's earned the heat he's getting. He gets it now. It takes time. And the house shows are a good way to learn and get better in the ring because it's your opportunity because obviously you don't get as much opportunity on television as you would on the house shows. Granted, I know they do less house shows now, but it's better for the wrestlers. I look at it like this. Like you said, you paid X amount of dollars to go to these shows. Just like I paid X amount of dollars to go to a Boston Red Sox game in 2005 and tell Mark Bellhorn that he fucking sucks. Stood up in my chair and told him.
Wakefield pitch.
He might have pitched. No, he did not. It was Matt Clement versus, oh God, I think it was Matt Clement versus John Smoltz.
Hey, you know, I got to see with F and Mark's Hall of Famer Tim. It was Matt Clement versus Carl Pavano, Memorial Day weekend in Yankee Stadium, and the Sox beat the shit out of the Yankees 18-1. I said not a word, but sat there with a Cheshire Cat grin the whole time. I mean, it wasn't quite like you at Belmont Park, saying and doing what you did. I mean, I just sat there
yeah. Not only am I the person who tells Mark Bellhorn he sucks at a Red Sox game, I'm also the person who goes to the wrestling shows. I mean, I thought about it and I said, yeah, they're getting booed. How do you think that they would have handled being in the Attitude Era with the way those fans were? Or even in the Golden Era, back in the territory days, where fans were literally attacking the wrestlers. I've done worse at almost every single wrestling show I've ever been to than the fans booing and telling Maxine Dupree she sucks. I'm sure if I ever saw Goldust, he would punch me in the face. And I would feel horrible because I actually appreciate the Goldust. Dustin Runnels. I've said some grotesque, devious, nasty things at wrestling shows. I got a whole promotion to turn against us. Yeah. And Jay did absolutely nothing to be collateral damage of probably the worst beating I would have ran away from. Because if my biggest threat was the kitty litter guy and Uncle Phil, I would have made it to my car. But at the end of the day, yes, I appreciate what the wrestlers doing are and coming out to support Maxine. But come on, man. This is wrestling fans. This is what they pay for. They're not going to cheer everything. This isn't how it works in this society. Not everybody's going to be good at everything. If everybody was good at everything, everybody would be able to do everything. Jay and I would be able to go out there and play starting quarterback for the New England Patriots.
Or the Giants. Not everybody's Tommy Cutlets.
Timmy could go out there and perform brain surgery. Chris Brown could be president of the United States if we could all do everything that we were able to do. But there are things that there's things that people do that they suck at. Jay sucks at being weak. I suck at basketball and pretty much a lot of other things. Yeah. That's just how it works. People just suck at things. Like Joe Biden sucks at being president. And freaking Austin Theory sucks at having a normal face. The New York Jets suck at football and will forever suck at football. It's just how it works. And the only way you're going to get better is if you repetitively do the same thing over and over again. So hopefully Maxine Dupree does that and does what she needs to do to get better.
But by the way, that there was a certain superstar many years ago who got booed out of the building and was told that he sucks and he should die, and happens to be the biggest star basically in the world at this moment.
Yeah.
So if you got perseverance, you will overcome that. Speaking of which, on SmackDown, that individual was on with the Tribal Chief. We got a couple of things in the chat from Chris Brown about this. Night 1 of WrestleMania, the biggest tag team match in the history of professional wrestling. The People's Champion, The Rock, and Roman Reigns versus Cody and Seth. If Cody and Seth win, no bloodline for night 2. If Roman and Dwayne win, night 1, the title match, and night 2 becomes a bloodline rules match.
Oh, they're so losing. Cody and Seth are definitely losing night 1.
Oh, yeah.
Cody.
And then Roman asked The Rock to acknowledge him, and The Rock did. To which the crowd said, "You sold out."
This can't be right. It's 8:40. How is all this happening? If Roman Reigns has started off SmackDown, how is he still not making his way to the ring? Oh, excuse me.
Maybe he shaved off his hair. Took him a little shorter to get to the ring because he weighed a little less.
Yeah, that's yes, Cousin Jay.
I mean, that's 50 pounds right there. He'd go from 260 to 210.
Cousin Jay, I realized that there was 2 giant omissions from this podcast so far.
All right.
I am very disappointed, especially in myself for this.
Hey, no, they're not omitted. We're gonna acknowledge those people and those things.
Yes, and I feel bad because this was all on me. I was so ready to tiz them out that I should have dedicated the start of the show to memorializing a couple of wrestling legends this week. As this week we have lost 2 key members of the golden era of professional wrestling. Ole Anderson of not only the 4 Horsemen fame, but the man who was the mastermind behind the masterpiece that is known as Clash of the Champions 13. Ole Anderson, the first and only booker ever to get fired in the middle of the show that he was producing in wrestling. I unfortunately only know Ole Anderson from that and his appearances in the 4 Horsemen. You're going to have to take it away from here with Ole Anderson, Cousin Jay, because that's a little bit more in your wheelhouse since you were a little bit more of a world-class and WCW fan.
Hey, Ole Anderson, not only did he book the greatest bad show of all time,
The Room of Wrestling.
Yes. Clash of the Champions 13. He came up with the character names of the Botswana Beast, Kalua, Colonel de Klerk. He booked the Z-Man versus Primetime Brian Lee.
He certainly did.
He booked Michael Wall Street versus
one of the Armstrongs.
Not going to work here anymore.
Is it the Candyman?
It was not the Candyman, because the Candyman versus Michael Wall Street would have been a great match.
Was that Starblazer?
It was a shit bomb where you could tell Michael Wall Street was looking to do a particular move. It didn't end up happening. The end of the match was supposed to be a Samoan drop, a.k.a. the stock market crash. It didn't happen that way. So terrible.
Starblazer.
So terrible. But Starblazer, indeed. Yes. But Ole Anderson, beyond that, Ric Flair came out and said, hey, me and Ole had our difficulties. We didn't always see eye to eye. But if the Andersons didn't accept me into their family as a cousin, I would not have made it in the business as I did. Arn Anderson coming out saying,
The Enforcer.
hey, I realized my life, what I do would not have happened without Ole. He was a mentor, and I studied him even when he didn't realize I was studying him, and I learned from him. He accepted me, and I was a replacement in the Minnesota Wrecking Crew. The Wrecking Crew led to the Four Horsemen. The Four Horsemen ended up being, a thing.
Huge.
That spawned the rest of my career. And clearly Double A had some unfortunate injuries that cut short his career. But Ole Anderson was pivotal in putting Arn Anderson on that path. Arn Anderson, spent many years in WWE behind the scenes training many of this generation's performers, many of the last generation's performers. He went to AEW and, within a short bit of time when he was on the air with Cody Rhodes, had one of the most memorable promos you could think of.
Glock Anderson.
Yeah. But Ole Anderson was pivotal in the role of two really major players in NWA and into WWE for many years. Ole was staunchly against Vince McMahon and the stuff that Vince McMahon was booking and trying to do in professional wrestling. Ole was super old school and was a prick beyond belief.
Oh, yeah. I heard about that.
He brought us the Black Scorpion that also played a huge role in Clash of the Champions 13.
FN Mark's Hall of Fame show,
Clash of the Champions 13. He also eventually came back and voiced the Shockmaster.
Sting. British Bulldog.
But Ole Anderson wrestled, for damn near 30 years and was a booker of multiple territories for almost as long. He knew what the hell professional wrestling is. I would say he somebody in the mold of him would be probably more similar to like Jim Cornette.
Yeah.
Hey, let's treat this like a real thing. Not an entertainment show. I have a lot of respect for the dude's knowledge. And as far as being a salty bastard, he seemed like he was a bit much. But he did an awful lot for this business that we talk about every week. And for that, I will take my hat off to you, Ole Anderson, being a multiple-time tag team champion, being a heck of a booker, being a heck of a wrestling mind, being a hell of a prick. Rest in peace, Ole. I will continue to watch Clash 13 as often as I do now. And remember fondly the asshole who booked it.
Amen, brother. Thank you for Clash 13, Ole. But unfortunately, you were not the only passing in wrestling this week. As we also found out, we lost Virgil. This one actually hurt a lot more than I thought it was going to. Virgil, back in the day when he was working with Ted DiBiase, was that like me as a kid waiting for Johnny Gargano or Tommaso Ciampa to turn on Johnny Gargano like he did in NXT a few years back. I waited and waited and waited because I knew at some point Virgil was going to turn on Ted DiBiase. And when it finally happened, it led to a big moment. And it led to a giant match. And the championship, the $1 million title that they had created for Ted DiBiase, was defended at SummerSlam. And if I'm not mistaken, Virgil
91.
is SummerSlam 1991, which I think was part of that great SummerSlam, if I'm not mistaken.
The SummerSlam where I believe also the Mountie went against the Big Boss.
The Big Boss Man, yes. SummerSlam 91 is the greatest SummerSlam of all time. You can't argue with me on that one.
I believe the match made in hell may have been that year also, along with the match made in heaven.
It was the Savage and Elizabeth wedding. It was Hogan and the Warrior versus the Iraqis with Sergeant Slaughter. It's amazing how many people are going to be coming up later on in this podcast too. It's funny. And it was also the one where the Mountie and you can't do this. It's greatest performance. I don't care what anybody says.
And was that also where Bret Hart went against Kurt Hennig?
I believe it was.
But for the IC strap.
I think it was. That was a great, because Roddy Piper was on commentary and he did not do at SummerSlam 91 what he did at WrestleMania 11, which is absolutely ruined it.
Ugh.
But that moment when Virgil threw Ted DiBiase into the corner and hit his head into the exposed turnbuckle that DiBiase exposed, and then the long crawl as the referee's counting him out and Virgil winning and becoming only the second person to ever win the $1 million championship. That moment was incredible. That was one of those moments to this day I still talk about and still think about, of how crazy and incredible it was. Virgil was such a grossly underrated performer in this industry. He had such a great moment with DiBiase. He was part of the NWO as Vincent. He deserved a lot more, and I hated the fact that the last 20 years or so of his life, he became a joke. The guy that nobody came and saw at the wrestling promotions, and I hated that. I really did. He's still one of my favorite Hasbro action figures I've ever had. If I actually was able to have access to my action figures, I would have pulled it out for tonight just because of the fact that it was Virgil. And to this day, one of my 5 favorite Hasbro figures is the Virgil one. It meant a lot to me when I got it. Very excited when I was a kid. Very sad to see him go. I saw the last picture that they had of him right before the pot. It broke my heart. I really didn't like seeing Virgil like that. So rest in peace, Virgil. You did a hell of a job doing what you did. And to this day, I still think about when you turned on Ted DiBiase and led to such a great story. And especially when we talk about how great stories is what helps professional wrestling get to where it needs to go.
Great long-term stories. That was a plan that was like 3+ years in the making.
Yep.
Vince actually had it on the books. This is what's going to happen. This will be roughly when it's going to happen. And I will come back to the idea with AEW. When Cody Rhodes was in AEW, they told long-term stories. Seemed like there was more respect in the locker room. With Cody being the first domino, I think that was what caused the locker room to go a little bit crazy, which caused Punk to go crazy. I think if Cody had stuck around in AEW, maybe the ride that CM Punk ended up on would have been different.
I agree. If there's anybody on planet Earth that could bring world peace, it's Cody Rhodes. I believe that full-heartedly. He's the only one. He could get Bloods and Crips together and unite. He could get Republicans and Democrats to unite. He could get me and AEW fans to unite. Okay, I'm sorry. That's just too much of a far-fetched thing. But I will say this. I will say this: the most I was ever vested in AEW was when Cody Rhodes was there, and I lost a lot of interest when he went back to WWE.
Right now, most of my interest in AEW is Christian Cage,
Danhausen, and Orange Cassidy, and Christian Cage. That's because Christian Cage is just doing some of the most masterful, devious shit I've ever seen. But
if
anyway,
they put together Christian Cage and R-Truth,
oh God,
into a thing, That would be, I think, about the funniest water and oil thing you would have out there.
Oh, yeah. And it's funny you mentioned that because I saw a thing earlier this week where the New Day talked about how Big E told them to get like a temporary replacement for him. And Woods and Kingston both said, no, we can't do this. I said, you know what? 99 times out of 100, I would agree with them for the New Day. We're bringing in a new member who is just not a good idea. But then I realized that there is one human being that not only would fit in with the New Day, but would actually has like storybook wise would make a lot of sense. And that's R-Truth. Let's be serious for 2 seconds. R-Truth would get over with the goofy shit that the New Day does with the throwing the pancakes in their own cereal. R-Truth would be entertaining as fuck no matter what he does with the New Day. R-Truth was part of Truth and Consequences in Impact Wrestling with Xavier Woods, and R-Truth won the tag team championships with Kofi Kingston back in, I think, 2012. So if there was if that was the pitch, I honestly believe that R-Truth would have been like a temporary member of the New Day. And he should be in it anyway. Just because anything that R-Truth does, honest to goodness, he would have fit in the NWO. He would have fit in D-Generation X. He would have fit in the Four Horsemen. He would have fit into the Nexus. He would have fit in anywhere. You insert R-Truth into any storyline or faction, and it would work. You're seeing it with the Spooky Pals. Whoever would have thought that R-Truth would have been the most popular member of the Spooky Pals?
Could he have made QTV work?
No, nothing. No, let's be serious, Jay. They could have had him, John Cena, and Chris Jericho on that, and it wouldn't have worked. They could have had Steve. The only way that would have worked would have been Steve Austin, and Steve Austin would have just beat the shit out of QT Marshall, and then I would have fucking did a backflip. Or 27 of them.
Okay.
Damn Skippy.
All right. Chris Brown in the chat saying earlier today, Paul Vachon passed away. He was in his late 80s. I'm not familiar with Paul Vachon. I mean, I was familiar with Mad Dog Vachon, familiar with Luna Vachon.
And I am very familiar with Luda Vachon.
Yes.
She abandoned me about a couple hours ago, so it's fine. It's bad.
Yeah.
So, is there any other notes do you have there, Cousin Jay?
Couple other smaller things. I shouldn't even say this smaller. Billy Jack Haynes was officially arrested and charged with second-degree murder, and I believe it was unlawful use of a weapon on the alleged murder of his wife. They were waiting until he got out of the infirmary before they officially charged him, but he has now been officially charged, where he will most likely live the rest of his life behind bars. That is, if he doesn't Epstein himself.
Epstein himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad that there's going to be some justice in that. It's unfortunate his wife lost her life, and that man probably has some serious mental issues just from everything I've heard about Billy Jack Haynes. So,
yeah. Couple other things. We did have, I thought it was an interesting thing. We talked about it a couple hours ago, but Cody Rhodes, during his segment on the Grayson Waller effect, did call out one Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson for a one-on-one match at some point in time. I don't know if this match is going to happen at the same time we get Jinder Mahal versus The Rock in India in the Punjabi prison match. I actually do believe that we will get a Cody versus Rock match at some point. Whether it ends up being in Cleveland at SummerSlam, or if the whole ruse of The Rock being, acknowledging Tribal Chief finally comes to a head at SummerSlam, and in Cleveland we'll get The Rock versus Roman in a non-title match because Roman possibly has lost the title at that point. Possibly. So there's that. Seth Franklin Rollins did say he is almost cleared by doctors to resume wrestling again. Drew McIntyre did sustain an injury very similar to what Roman Reigns did during War Games when he got pissed off at the Puff Cream Captain Cupcake for busting his eardrum. It sounds like that's similar to what happened to Drew McIntyre in the Elimination Chamber, but Drew, ended up again taking, a dunk at CM Punk. Saying, the doctor said I may not be available for WrestleMania. And I said, who do you think I am, CM Punk? Great work.
He was so in line with being my good this week. He was actually there until about yesterday.
Right.
And then I'll explain when we do that part.
All right. A couple other quick things. Full Sail University may be getting professional wrestling again. There are talks, and it doesn't seem like it's going to happen in the near future, but maybe TNA, Impact Wrestling, will start going live again on Thursdays. And they're going to pick one location to go live from, at least from the start. And it sounds like Full Sail University is one of those places. So good on them. We'll see what happens. Sounds like it's not happening soon. But I would say, hey, let's see what happens in the next 6 months to a year. And finally, we heard a couple of months ago the WWE settled their lawsuit with MLW over the fact that more or less the WWE buried them and prevented them from getting TV contracts. I believe one of them was with Vice, and there was another one with, I think it was Tubi.
Mm-hmm.
They prevented them from getting, and we're like going, hey, how much did they get? Well, in TKO Holdings filings, we found out MLW got $20 million, which explains an awful lot of how they were able to get, higher level talent to their show, or at least more well-known talent to their show. And, hopefully this is something that actually propels them forward to make them more of a player in the future. And that's basically what I got.
Good shit. Well, I got myself a top 10 list for this week.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you right now, I kind of piggybacked it a little bit off of 2 weeks ago's episode list where I did the top 10 reasons I'm a better candidate than Biden and Trump. And I took it to a next step.
Okay.
I've already named that you were going to be my running mate, Cousin Jay. So that was already figured out.
Yes.
And I had a little fun with this. Obviously, there's other people who are going to be better candidates. But I decided to put together the top 10 wrestlers who would be permanent cabinet members or part of the brainless regime starting in January of 2025. Number 10. The new head of Department of Transportation would be Bob Sparkplug Holly, because not only was he just Bob Sparkplug Holly, but he is the only person to ever have two different racing gimmicks, and he's got transportation background. So I would go with Bob Sparkplug Holly for head of transportation.
So I just got to ask a question here. Duke Drosy was transported on a dump truck.
I punted him from the regime when I found out there was not a Department of Sanitation.
Oh, okay. I mean, I know we had somebody else also kind of penciled in for that anyway. But
yes, I know, and I don't think you'd be happy about it. Wait. Number 9, this one actually would make a lot of sense. My new Surgeon General would be Chris Nowinski. There's not a former professional wrestler on the planet that I respect more for what he has done outside of the professional wrestling ring than Chris Nowinski. He is doing incredible things when it comes to the brain as a neuroscientist. Chris Nowinski would be a slam dunk for Surgeon General.
The only person who's done almost as much outside the ring, great stuff, is one Diamond Dallas Page.
Yes, absolutely. But he would have to just be like, I would just make him, he would get the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Let's be serious.
Yeah, he'd be like the presidential guru.
And then him and I would just do the bang right after he gets it, too.
Yeah.
Number 8, the new head of Homeland Security would be none other than Steve Blackman, the Lethal Weapon.
That is a fantastic pick.
Number 7, and I only had fun with this one because we already know who the press secretary is going to be. But my press secretary would be R-Truth. Binder ain't got shit on the truth. Number 6, the Department of Interior. Now, for the record, I had no idea who the Department of Interior was, even though I've watched Parks and Rec 8 billion times now in the last 2 or 3 years.
Right.
But there's only one person, since we're talking about outside and agriculture and all that stuff, there was only one man who was man enough to man the position of the head of Interior, and that is none other than William Regal.
Okay.
Because he's a man, such a man. He's a man.
I wasn't sure if you were going to go with Festus, but I get that.
I could have. Number 5.
Or the Godwin.
I was thinking about it, but I figured between them, they were closer to the Undertaker than they ever were to the Brainless one. Although I did enjoy them as a tag team. Number 5, I think this one just makes way too much sense. I would anoint as the ambassador to Canada none other than Jacques Rougeau, because there's not a person on the planet that always gets his man.
Okay.
Because he's the Mountie. Number 4, this one also makes way too much sense. The Attorney General would be none other than David Otunga.
He needs to have his coffee mug.
Yeah.
David Otunga without the coffee mug is no David Otunga.
I would hire him in a heartbeat as my defense lawyer if I ever needed one. Number 3, the new head of Treasury would be none other than Mike Rotunda. Between his time as Michael Wall Street.
All right. I know for a long time you were saying Michelle was going to be the head of Treasury, but.
Yes. But if we were going to do this wrestling related,
she may accept that.
He made, as Michael Wall Street and as IRS, he made way too much sense as head of the Treasury. Number 2, would you like to take a guess of who I would pick as the head of the Defense Department?
Ooh, there are a lot of great candidates out there to be the head of defense. I think it'd be tough to go with somebody like Sergeant Slaughter because he did turn against the United States at one point.
I better change my answer for the Secretary of Defense. I forgot he did that when I did this.
He was a turncoat against the United States for about a year or so, but he did ask for his country back. So, yeah. I'm trying to think of who. I mean, you got John Cena.
I can't because they're not going to be able to see him.
Childhood hero.
They're not going to be able to see him.
Exactly. He could get by the defense of any country. He'll be invisible. They will not see him coming. He is the Secretary of Defense, John Cena.
I just wanted to be known that I really wanted somehow to some way. I refuse to put dead wrestlers in there, but I wanted somehow to some way to have Dusty Rhodes be a part of this. Because he's a common man.
Yes.
Working hard for the man. But yeah, I had Sergeant Slaughter as the Secretary of Defense, even though I completely forgot that he turned on us 30 years ago.
He did. WrestleMania 7, we had to have Hulk Hogan save us from the
That's it.
Sergeant Slaughter.
That's all right. I will make it General DeClerc.
Okay.
Or could I have Nikita Koloff?
Wait.
He's actually from Minnesota. Yes, I can actually have Nikita Koloff as my. Yes, that's it. Nikita Koloff is my new Secretary of Defense.
Okay.
And lastly, and certainly not least, as my Secretary of State, I went with the only person I would feel comfortable enough if, for whatever reason, you and I were wiped out as president and vice president and they were to take over. As the Secretary of State, I would pick none other than Stone Cold Steve Austin. And if you want a reason, all I'm going to say is, and that's the bottom line, because the brainless one says so.
Oh, hell yeah.
What? Yeah, that was my top 10 list.
All right.
I think that only leads to one of our favorite parts of the podcast, because it has my namesake attached to it. And like with everything else, nobody is an exception to our good,
our bad,
and our brainless.
Yeah.
All right, Cousin Jay, what do you got for your good this week?
There were a lot of good things in pro wrestling. I could have gone with Haku seeing the Shockmaster for the first time in the blossoming of his laugh, from like going, oh yeah, that's kind of funny, to like him like getting the full feeling it all. I could have gone that route. I didn't. I could have gone with Logan Paul doing what he did to Kevin Owens. For a moment, it turned Logan Paul, for us on this podcast, into one of the biggest baby faces in the world.
Oh my God, that was the best part of the men's elimination chamber.
I could have gone with the moment that Rhea Ripley had in her home country at the end of the show.
Yeah.
I could have gone with Drew McIntyre in his segment on Monday Night Raw.
I swear to God, Jay, if you put Ric Flair as your good this week, I don't know. I'm going to jump off the roof.
You will not have to jump off the roof.
I figured I wouldn't. Figured I wouldn't.
R-Truth, you're a GOAT. You are a national treasure. You should be protected for many years to come. I hope to see you wrestling for WWE into your 70s.
90s.
R-Truth, your 2 videos on the X were absolutely gold. I cannot wait until you talked with Johnny Gargano this week. I hope next week you get to talk with Tommaso Ciampa.
This Triple H.
and have those great conversations about how you think those people will really have great things in their career.
Good shit.
R-Truth, you get my good.
I could have went the R-Truth route. I figured you were going to, so I didn't. I could have went Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre had actually gotten it after he's been shitting all over Punk. I've been enjoying his heel run.
Yeah.
Rhea Ripley could have gotten it for the great moment and everything like that. I'm sorry. If you can't, oh no, you can't really read it because I'm trying to block out all the other shit. But that says Haku, because that was the most enjoyable thing I've ever witnessed. Watching something of somebody watching something else. his laugh was genuine. He looked like he really was enjoying watching the video, and the fact that he actually made me feel a lot better about the fact that I waited as long as I did to see the Shockmaster, and I beat him by 7 years, so I'm happy.
Yeah.
But Haku, you get my good for this week.
All right.
Ooh, what do you got for your bad?
There is a person apparently out there that is randomly RKOing people, and it sounds like he's hurting them. So much so that Randy Orton has come out and said that person needs to be arrested and go to prison. Like when you see kids doing it at like high school graduations or what have you, where they plan it out, or if you see them like do it to somebody like into a pool, even if the person wasn't expecting it, hey, no problem.
Trampoline.
But if you're like legit doing it to somebody and like smash their head into the ground, you're a piece of crap. Like if they don't know it's coming and you just... So that dude, you get my bad this week. You're a piece of garbage. Duke Drosy should take you out.
I agree. Duke Drosy should take out all the garbage.
Yes.
My bad for this week, I'm going with wrestling fans. And I'm not even talking about the ones that were booing Maxine Dupree and telling her she sucks. I have no problem with that. You paid your money, you went there and did the thing. The fact that there was wrestling fans going out there and making a big deal like, you can't be saying that to her. You can't be saying that to her. You can't be saying that to her. Them and the fans that were going after O'Shea Jackson, Ice Cube's son, because he doesn't like AEW. To the point where one of the fans actually tweeted at Ice Cube and said, I really wish you hadn't reproduced because your son doesn't know what he's talking about. And Ice Cube came out and said, why the fuck am I getting dragged into this wrestling bullshit? To the wrestling fans that you... And the fact is, you can't say a bad thing about AEW because of their fans. Because if you say anything... I remember when Kat Dennings was watching it, she's like, oh my God, I think I'm in love with WWE. And they're, oh, you gotta watch Omega and Okada in the Tokyo Dome. No, the fuck she doesn't. I am sick and tired of AEW fans. I really am. And wrestling fans are just... They're fickle. And... they're not nice, and they do these things, and I really just... wrestling fans this week, you just get my bad because there's just a lot of bad that you've been doing this week. I'm sorry.
Yeah?
Yeah? What do you got for your brainless?
Well, I mean, clearly there's going to be a sweep here.
Hold on. So not only are you telling me that for the 7th consecutive episode that the Young Bucks have earned either my bad or brainless, but they have also earned your bad or brainless your brainless this week.
This week, they have earned my brainless. And I do have to loop Ric Flair into this.
Oh, of course you got to loop it. He's in there too.
Like, he was the one like, oh, yep. I need to be out here. I need to do punches. I need to get physical.
Yeah.
It's like, you're 75 years old. Just be an old man. Get your ass kicked. You know, by the Buckaroos.
The Super Kick Boys.
You're 75 years old. And, I mean, the punches you were throwing look like, you know, a child was throwing them. They looked terrible. The sell job was terrible. And then the nut shot was terrible.
Yes.
Like, I understand you're working with an old dude. You want to keep him safe. But if, like, this is supposed to be part of the culmination of the storyline of the end of the career of one of the greatest performers in wrestling history.
No doubt.
This is supposed to make you want to watch that more. You want to see Sting beat the crap out of the Young Bucks because they beat up Ric Flair. It didn't do that.
It didn't hit the chair, Dad.
This is bad, and this is shit.
Awful.
And It's just bad on the people in the ring and bad on Tony Khan for like going, oh yeah, let's go out and do this. It looked like shit.
Yeah, it did. I just can't wait because there's a pay-per-view on Saturday or Sunday, whatever the hell it is, for AEW. And these fuckheads could win it for an 8th consecutive week for me. You hit all the points. It was some of the worst shit. If I had seen it live, I wouldn't be watching AEW Dynamite anymore. It was that bad. Like I've said before, watching old man Flair throw those shitty punches at the Monster Abyss and Impact TNA just turned me off completely. And that was it. That's all it took. I never watched another episode of TNA or Impact after that. But anyway, if you have liked what you've seen, whether you are a first-time watcher or a continuous fan, make sure you like us on the Facebooks, follow us on the Twitter/X, follow us on the gram of Insta, and subscribe to us on YouTube at the letter T, the letter H, the letter E, the letter F, the letter N. There it is, MARKS, the F and Marks. If you like, follow, and subscribe to us, we will do the same back. That has never changed as our
mantra. And make sure you set up notifications so that when we go live, you will be notified that we are live, whether it is on the X, whether it is on the Facebook, whether it is on the YouTube. Also, make sure you subscribe to us on Spotify so that you can take the show on the road with you. So you can listen to it, so you could watch it. Either way, thank you all for those who tune in on a weekly basis. Thank you for all of those who tune in from time to time. And thank you to those tuning in for the first time.
We love you all. We do this for you. We come out here each and every week and talk about the sport we love to hate.
Professional wrestling. Yeah.
And I think that's a wrap.
That is 100% a wrap. We've got nothing left to talk about.
Wait.
Hold
up a second. What is up, Curtis Axel? Are you kidding me? You do realize what today is. I do know what today is, actually. But why don't you tell everybody what today is, Curtis Axel? Well, today, Brainless One, is March 1st of 2024. And did you know that today I have been alive for 3,323 days in the 2015 Royal Rumble? Me, Evan Marks, Hall of Famer. I'm the early clubhouse leader for my own Brainless this week because I ruined the Curtis Axel thing. Because today, March 1st of 2024, at an astonishing 3,323 days, him, Evan Marks, Hall of Famer, is still alive in the 2015 Royal Rumble.
Yeah?
Yeah? I could do that shit in my sleep, and I fucked it up this week.
Yeah?
Anyway, so for episode 349, as we embark on episode 350 next week, but as for episode 349 of everyone's favorite wrestling podcast, the Evan Marks.
I'm Jay. He is
Brainless. The Brainless One. Something like that.
Yeah?
Yeah? Make sure you mark out
with your guac out. See you, everyone. We'll catch you next week.
Thanks for tuning in. Yeah?
Yeah?
Yeah?